Chapter 1. The sun settled, bringing dark clouds in the sky and the shade of orange painted over the sky. Trees rustling in the passing wind. People in the town are returning to their houses. Far from all the hustle and bustle of the town, far from the city. A forest was located between the expansive cities of Iris and Veneton. The forest was restricted as many wild creatures resided there. In the midst of the forest, a small house was surrounded by large coniferous trees. Dazed, cold, alone yet unafraid, a little girl of the age of 7 hopped, skipped and jumped as she returned home from town carrying a small basket filled with ripe, freshly picked berries. Both of her small hands were clenched tightly around the straw handle of her wickerwork basket that she clutched to her chest. Her humming didn't quite block out the cawing of the cackling crows that circled above the darkening treetops, nor did it stave off the eerie feeling that blanketed the forest as night fell. The dim flickering of flames on wicks of melting wax cast a yellow glow that peered through the thinning tree trunks. Joy hastened the girl's steps whilst she breathed in the familiar scent of smoked wood chips, cooking spices, and herbs. As she approached her house, her fast pace slowed bit by bit until she came to a halt. Her wide eyes took in a prominent figure wearing a black hood standing in front of her mother. Young Alana picked at the loosening threads on the edge of her cloak while she nibbled nervously on her chapped lips. Her orderly mother hadn't mentioned that there were to be any visitors tonight. Furthermore, the stature and aura surrounding the intimidating stranger didn't quite seem guest-like. She was about to step forward when the flutter of his black cape drew her eyes to his movements. The man loomed over the petite woman with his back toward Alana, obscuring her mother from sight. All was still until the sound of viscous drops of liquid splattering reached the girl's ears. "Mommy," she called out as her eyes took in the growing pool of crimson blood. Her hands trembled, and she relinquished her tight grip on the basket. All Alana saw was red, blood mixed with berries as they tumbled and rolled into the dark puddle. "Mommy!" A loud, resounding thump sounded as the corpse dropped to the ground. Alana moved slowly towards her mother and her murderer. Her legs were shaking out of fear. As she approached, a glimpse of moonlight glinted off the bloodied canines of the killer. Vampire. Terror clawed at her body, mind and soul, like ice running through her veins. At this moment, something darted from the foggy depths of the forest. Its face was concealed by a black hood similar to the ghastly beast that stood over Alana's late mother. The newcomer wasted no time in latching onto the monster before disappearing within the blink of an eye, with only a swirl of mist left in their wake. With the two gone, Alana ran towards her mother. Then she noticed that her father was also lying down dead like her mother, both of them having the same 2 pierced marks on their neck. Looking at both of them, tears poured from her blue eyes as she knelt beside her parents. "Mommy, Daddy." She shook them in an attempt to rouse them. "You can't leave me." Her lips trembled as she flung her small arms over her parents, holding on to them in a way as if she'd ward off anyone who dare come to take them away from her. Even with her young mind, a part of her knew her attempts were futile. Her parents were no more. She was going to be alone here. A sinking realization hit her like a truck. She wasn't alone. Not yet. Her parents weren't there, but her younger sister was. Alana rose from where she sat, crouched next to her parents, her footsteps hastening as she dashed towards her house. She looked around every nook and cranny, every hiding spot she and Olivia had cooped in when they played games, when they tricked their parents. But she wasn't to be seen anywhere. "Olivia!" A desperate cry rung out from her, which rose higher and grew more panicked as she reached back to the front yard where her parents lay motionless in their little garden. She was truly and utterly alone. Alana didn't remember much of what had happened after. It was a rush of many things for her little mind, still reeling from the shock of her parents' death, to contemplate. 2 wandering farmers had found her clinging to her parents, crying profusely. She'd been too traumatized to remember her mother's warnings about not going along with strangers. She had silently followed, as the farmers had asked her to come along after assessing the situation. Although the strangers weren't bad, they'd actually taken her to the council building. The council served as the central government of peace, working under royal command to address any immediate issues. An elderly councilman with graying hair and liquid amber eyes had been present when the farmers had brought her to the building. He'd immediately asked her name, her parents' name, told her to narrate what had happened in the woods, and then looked into records for a relative. Hours later, Alana was sitting on the wooden seat staring down at her dry, blood-stained little hands. "Eli?" A familiar voice called out. Instantly, Alana looked up at the figure of her father's brother approaching her. Her eyes teared as she hopped down from her seat and ran towards him like a wailing puppy. "Uncle Aaron. The vampire. Mommy, Daddy. Olivia." Her cries grew louder into hysterics as she clung to her uncle's neck when he picked her up in his arms. Aaron's own eyes misted, but he held back the tears in front of his niece and patted her head gently in an effort to calm down the little girl. "I know, sweetie. I know." He tried to console her, his own heart breaking at the news of his brother and sister-in-law's death. "They're so bad." Alana continued whimpering, "Vampires are so bad." Aaron shut his eyes as the first tear ran down his cheek. "They are." But he didn't say it out loud. Not in a place where vampires worked among the humans. Aaron held firmly onto his niece as his eyes slid towards the elderly councilman who'd informed him about the incident and explained how now Alana's custody was in his and his wife's hands as the only relatives left. "I'll take her home," Aaron informed the councilman as Alana passed out on his shoulder from her crying session. The man nodded in return. "Our men will come to check every month any day they wish, for a year. I hope you understand the protocols." "I understand. It would be a great help if you could find my other niece, too," Aaron requested, knowing full well they hadn't found Alana's younger sister anywhere. "We'll be sending patrols to look for her, and if we find anything, the officials will let you know at their visits to your house," the councilman added solemnly. "Thank you for the help, sir." Aaron then took his niece home, where he and his wife, Rochelle, cared for the little girl as if she were their own. Even after years of marriage, they didn't have children, and in a way, Alana was a blessing to them. No matter how unfortunate Alana had ended up with them, Aaron and Rochelle groomed her with love and affection into a beautiful young lady. A beautiful young lady who went around with a wooden stake. Chapter 2. 12 years have passed since the tragic incident took place. With the passage of time, Alana had transformed into a beautiful girl. Her sapphire blue eyes, velvety black hair, milky white skin, and rosy pink lips made her an absolute stunner. As the years passed, she had developed a hatred for vampires. Even though they lived in the town where the humans and the vampires resided together, she had always kept a distance from the dark creatures. She had started living with her only relatives, Uncle Aaron and his wife Rochelle, in the town of Immerse. "I am leaving," Alana said, standing on the doorstep, tiptoeing, wearing her shoes. "Wait," Aunt Rochelle exclaimed, moving towards her. "My child, are you sure you want to visit the forest? I mean, can't we just decorate the cake with these berries?" She pointed at the berries with a worried expression. Aaron and Rochelle loved Alana like their own daughter. They did not have any kids of their own. Years ago, Rochelle's daughter died the moment she was born, and she could not conceive any more children. Alana placed her hand on Rochelle's shoulder. "You worry a lot. I will be fine. The rare forest berries are Uncle Aaron's favorite, and you know I always have my weapons in case of any danger," she said, dragging out the sharp wooden stake from the basket she was holding. "Okay, go carefully and come back as fast as you can." Alana waved goodbye and left the house. The forest was situated between the cities of Immerse and Veneton. The forest connected the two cities. It was the same forest where Alana resided before her parents' death. Except for the wild creatures, the forest had a high variety of rare fruits, which was not found in the town market. People tried to take these fruits, but due to the fear of the wild creatures, they never entered the forest. It was only a few minutes' walk from Immerse, whereas it was a little far from Veneton. Alana entered the forest carrying the small fruit basket, which had a wooden stake placed inside it. After her parents' death, she never visited her old house, and she rarely visited the forest. The forest was restricted, but still no one used to care who entered. She plucked some rare blueberries from the tree and started walking out of the forest. As she was tracing back her footsteps, she felt someone standing behind her. Without a second thought, she took hold of the wooden stake from the basket and, turning back, crashed the person towards the tree. She held the wooden stake just near his chest. "You were trying to kill me, right? You blood-sucking creature." Alana yelled at the man holding the stake firmly against his chest. "Dangerous, aren't you?" The man's lips twisted into an amused smile as she narrowed her eyes at him. "Please leave me. I don't even know you and I came here for hunting," he said, his eyes fixated on the wooden stake. It is a pity that the mere piece of wood wouldn't be able even to scratch his skin, but he had to applaud for the girl's bravery. She didn't know who he was after all. "Hunting humans? No animals." "Sounds believable," she said, moving behind and placing the wooden stake back in the basket. Both of them started walking out of the forest, the man walking beside Alana. "So, from which town are you?" the man asked curiously, his dark brown eyes with a shade of red reflecting in the dawn sunlight. "That's none of your business, mister." "So rude," he said, giving a disappointed look. Suddenly, she felt the man push her, making her fall on the ground. She got up immediately, holding the wooden stake, and pushed the man to the ground, and again placed the stake near the man's chest. "I knew you wanted to kill me, but remember you won't be able to do so, understand?" she yelled at him. "Oh my, you won't leave me until you take my life." "There was a poisonous spider, look," he said, pointing at the golden and black spider on the harsh grass. "Oh crap," she muttered a curse under her breath. "Now will you leave me?" "Okay." She moved back, getting up and dusting her skirt. When she turned to see the man, he had vanished. "Weird person. Bad day, Alana," she murmured to herself, walking her way out of the forest. When she reached her house, Uncle Aaron had already returned. Before she could go inside, she heard them speak. Alana stood behind the door and spied them from outside. "But we can't tell this to Alana," Rochelle said, facing Aaron. "Yes, we can't let her know that we don't have money, even to eat," Uncle Aaron said in a sad tone. Alana entered the house. "What happened, Aunt Rochelle and Uncle Aaron?" she asked as if she didn't hear them. "Alana, you are back?" Rochelle said this in a flabbergasted tone, before dismissing it with a shrug. "Nothing important, my child. Let's decorate the cake." "See, I bought your favorite berries, Uncle Aaron." "You went to that forest? Why did you go there?" "It's a very dangerous place, you shouldn't have gone," he said in a worried tone, getting up from the chair. "In fact, I think I am dangerous for the people over there," she said in a low, sarcastic tone. "What?" he asked, a little confused. "I am fine, you don't need to worry about me." "Now let's decorate the cake," Alana said excitedly. Both Alana and Aunt Rochelle started decorating the cake after enjoying the delicious cake. Aunt Rochelle and Uncle Aaron headed towards their room, while Alana headed to her own room. After reaching her room, Alana took a hot shower and sat in the rocking chair situated next to the window, staring out. As she stared outside, she remembered her uncle's words, "We don't have money even to eat." Are they really in such a bad condition? I should find a job so that I can help them, she thought. Alana's uncle was not financially well off. Still, he had always fulfilled all her needs, not thinking about themselves. Her Uncle Aaron and Aunt Rochelle always gave Alana the best education, even though they didn't have much money. She got up from the chair and headed to the study table. She took a piece of paper and wrote the application for a job, listing her qualifications. At the end of the page, she wrote urgent. "And now it's done, I will send this to the council," she said to herself, moving away from the chair, followed by lying on the bed. Chapter 3. Alana's POV. A week ago, I received a letter from the council offering a job as an assistant manager at the Royal Mansion of Veneton. At first, Uncle Aaron and Aunt Rochelle hesitated to let me work, but then they agreed when I said I just wanted to explore the city. The truth was, I wanted to help them with their financial crisis, but if I said so, they wouldn't accept my help. According to the conditions outlined in the job document, I was required to stay in the mansion and was only allowed to visit my relatives during vacations. The day to leave Iris and head for Veneton arrived so fast. I had packed some of my clothes and money, which I had saved from my pocket money. I am thankful I collected it instead of spending it. Usually, I am not the collecting type of person. I just spend all of my money buying things that I use only once or spend on food. I carried my luggage and headed down the stairs. I walked over to Aunt Rochelle, who was standing on the porch. "So you're leaving us alone? Your uncle has become old. Who will talk to me when you're gone?" Aunt Rochelle said in a choked voice, tears beginning to form in her eyes. Aunt Rochelle was an emotional person. She loved me like her own daughter. I feel privileged to have her in my life. If I didn't say anything, she would surely start crying, and I didn't want that. "I am young enough," came the haughty voice of Uncle Aaron as he walked towards where my Aunt Rochelle stood on the porch, "but we will surely miss you, Alana." I mouthed, "I will miss you too. I am gonna miss them so much. I wish I could stay here, but no, I have to go to Uncle and Aunt. I don't want to be a burden on them. I had to contribute my part and be a helpful niece." I heard the sound of the carriage man call for me to sit in the carriage so that we can leave for Veneton. It's already time to go. Uncle and Aunt wished me luck and told me to take care of myself. I hugged both of them and headed towards the carriage. As I was sitting in the carriage, I thought about all the moments spent with my uncle and aunt. It was a long journey from Iris to Veneton. It took a whole day to reach Veneton. Iris and Veneton were the two prominent empires. A vampire lord ruled Veneton, whereas the werewolf queen ruled Iris. Both cities had a cold war with each other because of the conflict between the vampires and the werewolves. I had lived in Ireland for almost 19 years, but I had never known anything about our queen. There were no pictures of the queen in newspapers. The werewolf queen didn't like to be famous, I guess. Many of the people in Iris didn't even know what their own queen looked like. When I arrived at the royal mansion, it was already evening. When we entered the mansion gates, I couldn't believe my own eyes at the beauty of the mansion. It was an enormous castle-like mansion. The mansion was situated on a large plot of land, surrounded by a beautiful garden. It was magnificently beautiful. It looked kind of like a fairy tale palace. As I stepped inside the castle, I could see big portraits of scenes and unfamiliar people hanging on the neatly polished wooden walls. The interior was somewhat Gothic, which made it look intriguing. The mansion had a large hallway. I couldn't find out where I had to go for the interview. I saw a man passing by. The man had black hair and dark brown eyes, which looked almost black. I walked over to him. "Could you please tell me the way to the interview room?" He inquired whether I was the girl assigned by the council, and when I said I was, he behaved as if he had just got the shock of his life. "Oh no, I totally forgot. Olivia's gonna kill me." He squeezed his eyes shut and started hitting his head with his balled fist. This guy was insane or funny, I guess. He was being so hysterical as if someone was going to murder him. A woman with light brown hair and eyes of the same shade came and stood beside the funny man, facing me. "Milady, you have to take a right and enter the second door, and there you will be giving your interview," the woman informed me. Then she turned her head towards the man. "And you, Stefan, how could you forget this? You know, Olivia, I do a lot of work. So I just forgot to attend her." Stefan, yeah, that was his name, said, facing the woman named Olivia. "You and work. Can you tell me what work you did in this whole week?" Olivia asked Stefan with a glare. "Well, leave it. Don't you think we should introduce ourselves to this beautiful lady?" He scratched his head and pointed at me. It was amusing to watch Stefan, who was rattled and trying to change the topic. All the while, I was standing over there, looking at both of them. I was curious to know who they were, and now they were going to introduce themselves, so I listened attentively. The black-haired man introduced himself first. His name was Stefan Davis. He was the younger brother of Veneton Lord. So, basically, he was the prince. Then the brown-eyed woman introduced herself. "I am Olivia Hugh and," her words were interrupted by Stefan. "And she is the head of the guards of our kingdom, and you need to be careful of her. She is very dangerous," he said, making his eyes wide. "Shut up, Stefan. You are scaring the girl with your owl's eyes." Owl's eyes? Do they have really beautiful eyes? He asked curiously. Of course not. Have you never seen an owl? Olivia said, looking heavenwards. She was surely annoyed by Stefan. They both looked adorable. Hearing Olivia's name, I remembered my sister Olivia, who was lost years ago and then declared dead by the council as they could not find her. Both of them shared the same name, yet they were remarkably different. One was deceased, and the other was the head of the guards. The head of the guards, these words rang in my mind. A girl and the head, perhaps she is really very brave or strong. Maybe she leads the entire army of Veneton, filled with men. Milady, where are you lost? I saw Stefan moving his hand in the air in front of my face. Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about something, I said, then began my introduction. I told them my full name and that I was from Iris. When Stefan started talking too much, Olivia told him to shut up and let me do my work. She asked whether she should lead me to the office or if I could go myself. I said I could go myself and headed towards the office. All this while, I was trying to control my laughter, but now I was far from them, so a small laugh escaped my lips. They both are so funny and friendly. Stefan is a prince, but he did not have any ego, which is strange. Anyway, I will enjoy the good company of them in the mansion. I was lost in my thoughts that I didn't notice the person coming from the other side of the hallway and accidentally bumped into him. The person was holding papers, which fell on the ground. I started picking up the papers without looking at him. I am really sorry, I didn't see you. I got up to give the papers. When I stood, I rubbed my eyes to check whether I wasn't hallucinating. It was the same man whom I had attacked in the forest earlier. The man was wearing a black and white suit. He was well dressed from head to toe. I stared at the man's brown-red eyes, who returned the stare. Breaking eye contact, I spoke. You, I said in a loud and surprised voice. Wait, are you following me? No, I am not following you, he said quickly and shook his head vigorously. Then what the hell are you doing here? I asked in a confronting tone. I am not usually this kind of person, but he's really got on my nerves. He was going to put both of us in trouble. I think he intruded on the mansion like some robber. And when the Lord comes to know about it, he will kill him. Me, before he could speak, I started pushing him towards the main door. I said, "What are you doing?" He asked, confused. You intruded inside the mansion without any permission, like, seriously. I started with an annoyed expression. But why do I need any permission to get into my own mansion? He asked, confused. Your mansion? Stop joking, it's the king's mansion. And I am the king. He stood straight in front of me. He's got to be kidding me. He won't go until he gets himself executed. He is mad. If someone hears him declaring himself as the king, or if the Lord himself hears, then he will be executed. Do you know him, Alana? I heard Stefan asking from afar. I turned around to see Stefan and Olivia heading towards me. Yes, no, actually, he came to give me the papers. His work is done, he will go now, I said, trying to save the person from getting punished. I didn't want to save the man, but I couldn't just see a person facing execution in front of me when I could save him. Papers? Evan, you know her? Stefan said, facing towards the man. Who is Evan, and how does Stefan know him? He spoke like he knew the man for ages. I have to clear this up. Wait, you know him? I asked, confused. Of course, he is my brother and the Lord of Veneton, Stefan said with a broad smile. What? I stood shocked, hearing the revelation. Oh no. What did I do? He was actually the king when I was assuming him to be a mastermind thief. Shouldn't I hit my head somewhere? Firstly, I attacked him and then tried to get him out of his own mansion. Now I will have to face the consequences. I saw the man named Evan, the Lord, chuckling slowly as he looked at my shocked face. I heard Evan whisper in my ear, "I told you," and wink at me. I flinched, hearing him. Then he waved his hand to Stefan and Olivia and went from there. The man was weird. Congratulations. You got the job. Looks like Evan wants you on the job. Now go and take rest, and you will start your job from tomorrow. Olivia hugged me with a huge smile. I just stood there, still in shock, and nodded. Chapter 4. Alana had a hard time sleeping in her new bedroom, which was given to her as a gift. There was a fluffy cushion, and the bed underneath her was soft, but she couldn't fall asleep. She kept turning from one side to the other. She remembered how she had attacked the man. He was a king, the Lord of Veneton. They would be bumping into each other, as it was his mansion, and the biggest thing was that she had been assigned as his assistant. He might take revenge as she has attacked him. She has always heard that the royals did not spare anyone, and she literally attacked the Lord of Veneton. But it was his fault. He shouldn't have followed her. But even she shouldn't have attacked him without knowing his purpose. Ilana, what did you do? She let out a muffled cry, putting her face inside the cushion. She sat up on the bed and searched for water, thinking that everything had only made her throat dry. When she couldn't find water, Ilana stepped down from the bed and made her way to the kitchen. When she entered the kitchen, the people were busy with work and preparation for something like a feast. At midnight, what kind of work or feast would they be having? Ilana thought. Before she could ask them, a lady approached her, holding a silver goblet. "Would you like to taste this, madam?" she asked. Ilana didn't refuse. It would be like disrespecting the lady. "Yes, I will taste." "What juice is it?" She took the goblet from the lady and brought it near her lips. "It is blood, a bear's pure blood which our Lord had hunted for us," the lady replied with pride. "What?" Ilana shouted, spitting the blood out of her mouth and dropping the goblet on the floor. She looked around the room, and every single person was drinking blood. All of them now stared at her. She began to feel scared of all of them. A room filled with vampires, and she was the only human among them. She started moving slowly towards the door. "Madam, what happened?" "Won't you taste this?" the lady asked, moving towards her with a quirky expression. Ilana flinched, seeing the lady. Just before the lady could give her another goblet filled with blood. "Assistant, what are you doing here at this hour of time? Anyways, I have some work for you, so can I expect you in my study room now?" She heard Lord Evan's voice. When she turned, she saw him exit the kitchen. She breathed a sigh of relief and followed him. When they exited the kitchen, she saw him holding her wrist tightly and dragging her towards his study. "What are you doing?" she yelled at him, but he didn't reply. Once they reached the study room, she yanked her hand from the king's grip and moved away. When she saw him coming towards her, she slowly backed up against the wall and felt her back hit it. She felt the Lord lean forward and speak. "What were you doing there? Don't you know, you being a human should not go to a group of vampires, especially when they are having their feast." "Do you want to be their next meal?" he scolded her softly. She panicked, hearing him as she thought he wanted to make her his meal, and as if he heard her thoughts, he spoke. "Don't worry, I won't kill you," he said, stepping behind. "Remember, don't go anywhere alone. Always stay near Stefan or Olivia, okay?" he said in a matter-of-fact tone. "The mansion is filled with vampires, and you are the only human here. They didn't smell you, maybe because of the bear's blood scent, but you won't be always fortunate. So be careful." She nodded her head and moved out of the study room. She went to her room and lay on the bed. A little girl was returning from the woods carrying a small basket filled with berries. As she came near her house, she saw a man standing in front of her mother. The man was wearing a black hood. She couldn't see his face as he was facing away from her. "Who is this person?" the little girl murmured to herself when she took a step ahead. Suddenly, the man dug his fangs into her mother's neck, leaving her mother lifeless on the floor. "Mommy," she screamed. The basket in her hand fell on the ground. Ilana woke up suddenly, her body covered with sweat and her heart thudding loudly in her chest. "I can't stay here. These creatures killed my parents. They made me an orphan," she muttered to herself. "No, I will have to leave." She stepped down from the bed and walked towards the window. When she looked out of the window, she saw someone digging in the ground in the mansion's garden. She exited her room and moved towards the garden to check who it was. Chapter 5. The garden was beautiful. Even in the darkness, Ilana could see the flowers and fruits that it held. Her gaze shifted from the flowers to the person who was digging in the ground. She moved towards the person and saw that they were putting some papers inside the hole that had been dug. She placed her hand on the person's shoulder and saw the person turn. Olivia, she asked, surprised. Hello, Alana. Before you ask anything, let me clarify that I am not a mad person digging the ground at midnight, said Olivia, getting up and standing, facing Alana. Then what were you doing? Let us just say that I am trying to hide something from that stupid Stefan, she replied. Oh, Stefan is the problem. But here, she asked, pointing at the hole which was dug into the ground. Don't you know, Alana, this is the best place where you can hide your things. Your things are always safe here, she replied. Olivia. You dumb girl, why are you digging the ground? I am hiding my things so that Daddy can never find them. Here. Sister, don't you know this is the best place where you can hide your things? Your things are always safe here, her minor sister smiled warmly. Alana felt fragments of memories piece through her mind, memories she had forgotten. A tear fell from her eyes, and she saw Olivia. You're so like my sister. You have a sister? Olivia asked curiously. I had a sister. She is no more, she replied, wiping her tears. I am sorry. It's fine, we can't always dwell upon our loss and cry over it. It's better to end something and start another than to imprison yourself in the sorrows. Sometimes, we survive by forgetting, Alana said in a sad tone. But there are some things that we can never forget. Something that will never change. Olivia paused for a minute. I think we should go and sleep before someone thinks that we are ghosts wandering at this time, she said in a sarcastic tone, changing the topic. Yes, we should go and sleep. Both of them headed towards the mansion and back to their rooms. Alana thought for a few hours that night and concluded that she would stay in the mansion. After all, everyone was not the same, and not to forget, she was working because she had to earn for her uncle and aunt. She didn't want to become a burden on them. And the mansion was not a bad place, though, except for that lord whom she didn't like for some odd reason. But anyway, Stefan and Olivia were always entertaining. Alana woke up early in the morning. It was her first day on the job, and she wanted to be on time. She took a quick shower, put on a simple peach-colored gown, and exited her room. In the hallway, she saw Stefan and Olivia standing and talking about something. Hello, Stefan and Olivia, she greeted them with a smile. Hello, Alana, Stefan and Olivia greeted back at the same time. Stop copying me, Stefan said, making a pouty face. What? When did I copy you? Olivia asked, annoyed. You said, hello, Alana. When I said that, means you copied me. Stefan, are you insane? What do you expect me to say rather than hello? Do you want me to say cello instead of hello? She yelled at him. Well, that's nice. Alana started laughing, looking at the two of them arguing. Whenever she was around these two, she always enjoyed their company. They were so damn naive. She thought. Why are you laughing? Stefan asked, confused. When there's a joker in front of her, she will surely laugh, Olivia joked. You both are so funny. Stefan, you're so different from your brother, said Alana. I know my brother is a little weird at times, but he loves me a lot and I love him a lot. We two can give our lives for each other, he said proudly. What about you? Do you have siblings? Olivia made her eyes wide and looked at Stefan. I had a small sister. She passed away when I was small. Sorry, Alana, I shouldn't have asked, but don't worry, from now on, I will be your brother. From now on, you won't be telling that you don't have a sibling. He kept his hand on Alana's shoulder. And I will be your sister, Olivia said, jumping into the scene. Thank you, my new sister and brother, she said, giving a broad smile and hugged both of them. After her parents' death, Alana had become lonely. Sometimes she used to miss them badly, but she never spoke about it. She missed her minor sister, even after the council declared her sister dead. She always had hope that maybe one day she would find her sister. Her uncle and aunt were like her parents, but there was no one like her sister. And now, when she met Stefan and Olivia somewhere, she felt like her sister was back. She hugged them again and left for the study room. When she entered the study room, she could see the Lord was sitting on an office chair beside the study table. Before she could address her presence, the Lord spoke, still facing his back at her. So you're here. I hope you know what work you have to do at the party, he said in a matter-of-fact tone. What party? She hasn't been informed about any party. About which party was he talking? Alana thought to herself. "My lord, what party?" she asked politely. "You don't know about the party? Stop joking. I told you yesterday, did you forget? Remember, you have to look your best." "And what happened to your voice, Giselle?" he asked in a weird tone which she couldn't recognize. "What in the world? When did he tell me about the party, and what does he mean that I have to look my best? And yes, who is Giselle?" All the thoughts rushed into her mind, and she began to feel angry. "My lord, what are you talking about?" she asked in an irked tone. When he turned to face her, his eyes widened. "You! What are you doing here? And where's Giselle?" "My lord, if you have forgotten, let me remind you that I am your assistant. So I am here for my work, and secondly, I do not know any person named Giselle," she replied, and shrank at the same time at the volume she had responded with. "Oh yes, your work. Here are the names of the 5 files I want you to bring from the storeroom. For now, just do this," he said, picking up the paper from the table and holding it in between his 2 fingers. "That's it." She had expected him to assign her a large amount of work, thinking he wanted to take revenge, but she was wrong. He had given her a small task that she could complete in minutes. Maybe Stefan was right that his brother is a good man. She took the paper and rushed out of the study room without hearing what the Lord was telling. She asked a maid about the way to the storeroom and headed in that direction. The storeroom was old. It looked like it hadn't been used for years. The objects in the room were covered with dust. Cobwebs decorated the old room in every nook and corner. There was a huge shelf which contained more than 1,000 files. Alana started feeling dizzy when looking at the number of files on the shelf. For a moment, she thought that the Lord was a good man, but now she was sure that he was taking revenge. She stamped her feet on the ground angrily and started removing files from the shelf. The shelf contained 3 rows, the top row, the bottom row, and the middle row. She started picking the files from the bottom row first. After 4 hours, she found 2 out of 5 files. She was silent all this time. Not able to bear the silence anymore, she started speaking to herself. "I just hate that man. He didn't even send a person to help me find the files." She heard footsteps entering the room. "At least he sent someone to help me out," she said happily, breathing a sigh of relief. "Here, hold this," she said, giving the files to the man without looking at him. She continued to check the titles of the files from the middle row and handed them to the man to hold. She started walking from one side of the shelf to the other, and the man followed her. "How do you bear your lord?" she asked the man in a questionable tone, still busy checking the titles of the files and not looking at him. "Huh. He's such an irritating person. I know he is your lord, but I swear he wants to take revenge from me," she said. "Revenge?" the man asked, confused. "Yes, it's a long story." "Leave it," she said, waving her hand in the air and stepping on the wooden stool. She stood on tiptoe on the stool to pick the files from the top row. "I know it was my fault. I shouldn't have attacked him, but he should have forgiven me. Right?" Trying to pick the files from the shelf, she tried to change the direction of the stool. She felt her toes slip as the stool moved forward, while her body moved backwards. Waiting for the harsh fall, she closed her eyes, but instead felt someone hold her effortlessly. Opening her eyes, she tilted her face up to see that it was Lord Evan who had caught her in his arms. "So you agree, it was your fault?" he asked her with a raised brow, putting her down, a small smile playing on his lips. "You." No, I mean, words didn't come out of her mouth properly. The Lord was a good man, and he had even saved her when she was stuck between those vampires. Even after she had attacked him, he was always kind and helpful. But for some reason, she didn't like him. Instead, she got irritated by his presence. The thought of the Lord hearing everything when she was complaining about him mindlessly, without looking that it was the Lord himself who was standing there, made her tremble out of fear. She bit her lips. "Did you hear everything?" "Well, that's not important. Before I could say where the files were kept, you rushed out of the study room, and now you're complaining," he replied deviously. "Stupid Alana," she muttered to herself, hitting her head with the back of her hand. "There's a business party tonight, and, because you're my assistant, you will have to accompany me there." She nodded her head and saw the Lord exit. Alana felt her breath in relief. "Oh well, what is your name?" All this while, I didn't get time to ask your name. She heard the Lord speak, popping his head from the door. Ilana Watson, my lord. Chapter 6. At 6:30, Ilana sat in front of the mirror, making her hair. She tied her long hair into a loose bun. She stood up and looked at her reflection in the mirror. She wore a black gown from head to toe. It was a simple yet elegant gown, which was gifted to her by her uncle and aunt on her 18th birthday. She crushed the rose petals and painted her lips with them, which complemented her dress. Looks never mattered to her, but then the world was drawn to appearances, even though it was personality that made a person truly attractive. She took a last glance at her reflection and exited the room. When she reached the main door, she saw the Lord in a black suit with a clean white shirt. His hair combed back, revealing his intimidating red-brown eyes. He was breathtakingly handsome, with features like high cheekbones, a firm jaw, and mysterious eyes. Many times, Ilana used to get confused about whether he had brown or red eyes, or whether it was a combination, as sometimes it looked more like red, while at other times it looked more like brown. She stared at him to find out now which color they looked like, and his eyes drifted to hers. She realized that the Lord had caught her staring, and a smile crept to his lips. She quickly moved her gaze to the woman who was standing next to him. The woman had blonde hair, and she wore a royal blue-colored gown. She had sapphires all over her neck. The woman appeared to be an elite member. The woman's gray eyes met her, and she smiled at her. Ilana smiled back and moved towards Stefan and Olivia, who were arguing like always. Sometimes, she couldn't understand why they fought so much, but then they were two naive children always fighting with each other. So she was Giselle. The one about whom the Lord was speaking yesterday. She is pretty, but something was weird about her. The smile she gave was gentle, but it seemed a little creepy. Anyway, she had to do nothing with it, thought Ilana. Wow! Look at my sister. She looks so damn pretty, Stefan complimented, looking at Ilana. Indeed, you look gorgeous, Ilana. Olivia exclaimed. After all, she is my sister, Stefan said, pulling Ilana towards him. What do you mean, your sister? She is my sister, Olivia said, pulling Ilana towards her. Both of them started pulling Ilana's arms towards them, with her stuck in between them. Stop it, both of you, or else you will break my arms. Sorry, Ilana. Both of them apologized at the same time, moving behind, releasing her arms free. See, you copied me again. Shut up, Stefan. We don't have time for your stupidness. See, Evan and Giselle are already waiting for us, Olivia yelled at him. They moved towards Lord Evan and the lady named Giselle, who was beside him. Hello, let me introduce myself first, the lady spoke, her dull gray eyes looking sharply at Ilana. My name is Giselle Johnson. You must have heard about the Johnsons. My dad is one of the reputed nobles. Most importantly, I was the first assistant of Lord Evan. What about you? She is my sister. Do you have any problem, Miss Assistant Number 1? Stefan defended, jumping into the scene. When did you buy yourself a sister? Giselle mused. Why? Do you have any problem? He asked her, smiling. Of course not. Why will I have a problem? Did you bring her from the streets just like Lord Evan brought you? Giselle said, only to flinch at hearing Lord Evan. How dare you speak like that to my brother? He yelled at Giselle angrily. Calm down, Evan. She is just joking, right? Olivia said, keeping a hand on the Lord's shoulder and throwing a glare at Giselle. Lord Evan didn't speak a word and dashed out of the mansion. Stefan, who was talking happily some time ago, now stood straight, staring at the floor. Stefan, are you okay? Olivia asked him with a worried expression. He nodded his head. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he saw straight into her brown eyes. So you care about me, he teased her, hitting the bullseye. What? I was just worried, but how can I forget you will never change? Olivia replied, fretting as he gave a questionable look. Don't lie, you care about me. Stefan wiggled his brows at her. No, I don't, Olivia rebuked, glaring at him. You do. I don't. You do. We need to get going if you're done. Olivia deadpants, cutting off the banter. Ilana, Stefan, and Olivia sat in the carriage, with Stefan and Olivia seated beside each other and Alana in front of them. The Lord had left in his carriage a few minutes ago, and Giselle followed him in her carriage. On their way, Alana looked at Stefan and remembered the conversation they had previously had. She remembered Giselle's words, "Did you bring her from the streets just like Lord Evan brought you?" What did she mean? Stefan was Lord Evan's brother, so why did she tell him like that? If Giselle was the daughter of a reputed noble, then why did she work for the Lord? As far as she knew, the Johnsons were one of the wealthiest nobles in the empire. Then, what was the need for her to work? What the hell was happening? Thousands of questions roamed her head, but she stayed quiet, as asking for the answers now won't be right, but she won't let it go. She would find her answers when the right time comes. Alana looked out of the carriage till they reached the hall where the party was held. All three descended from the carriage and moved towards the hall. "I know you have a lot of questions to ask. Meet me at the terrace at midnight," Olivia whispered in her ear before stepping into the hall. Olivia and Stefan stepped inside the hall. Alana's dress got tangled in her shoes, and she was trying to make it proper. As soon as she finished making it correct, she moved towards the hall only to be blocked by Giselle standing between the doorstep and her. The lady smiled at her creepily. "So you're trying to take my place?" Giselle said, moving towards Alana, her grip tightened on her arms. "What do you mean?" "Just leave your job and get away from Lord Evan and the mansion," Giselle stated with a glare. Alana was not a person who would stay quiet or get frightened when someone threatened her or spoke to her rudely. She was a person who would talk bravely about her opinion. "And what if I don't?" Alana twisted her statement, thus challenging her. She yanked her hand away from Giselle's grip and jolted towards the hall. "You will pay for this." Giselle muttered a curse under her breath and walked towards the wall. It was a grand hall, with lights that burnt luminously on the walls and also from the large crystal chandelier that hung at the center of the ceiling. Alana had never visited such parties as her family had never been invited. Many people had already arrived at the party, women in their designer dresses and men in suits. Attending a party like this was something new to her. She wished she could bring her relatives here, but she wasn't here to enjoy. The real purpose was business. The people greeted the Lord of Veneton with respect. Lord Evan's mood had changed since they reached the hall, and he was in a good mood right now. She walked to where Stefan and Olivia were standing. "What took you so much time, sister?" Stefan asked, concerned. At the same time, Alana saw Giselle passing in front of them. "Don't worry, Stefan. You know, there are flies all around blocking your path," she said satirically, waving her hands as if trying to shoo away flies. She looked at Giselle with a smirk. Stefan, who was standing, caught her smirking at Giselle. He understood that Alana was indirectly teasing Giselle, and he added fuel to the fire. "Yes, there are too many flies wandering. There she is, the queen of the flies." He clapped his hands in front of Giselle's face, making her flinch, missed it. Olivia giggled, slowly covering her mouth. "What the hell, Stefan? When will you grow up?" Giselle yelled at Stefan, and all the people in the hall stared at them. "Giselle, if you scream any louder, people will think that you are a monster," Stefan joked, making her fume in anger. She dashed away from there, saying something which they couldn't hear. The moment Giselle left, both Alana and Stefan burst out laughing. "What was that, Stefan? And Alana, you too?" Olivia asked, disappointed, clapping her hands exactly in front of her face, making her flinch. "It isn't a good behavior for a prince. It will affect your kingdom's reputation. Don't you know? But that was fun. Did you look at her face? She looked like a cock." "Damn. I have never seen her face like that." "Thank you, Alana," he giggled. Yes, it indeed was funny. Alana covered her mouth to control her laughter. "Alana, you won't understand how fun it was. You know, old people don't understand things like this." "You old lady," Stefan said in a sarcastic tone, annoying Olivia, but her expression changed instantly, and she spoke. "You were calling me old, then what to say? Everyone is old for a dumb child like yourself, Stefan," she chuckled. "But Olivia, we really had fun teasing her," Alana said, siding with Stefan and laughing. "Come on, even you had fun. I saw you giggling when he clapped in front of her face." "You saw that?" Olivia tried to control her laughter, but couldn't. They all started laughing. People in the hall began staring at them. I think we should stop laughing, she giggled. So at last you laughed, old lady. I am not old, understand. That you are, old lady. Stefan. Old lady. Old lady. Old lady, he teased her. Stefan, she kicked him on his stomach, making him fall to the ground. Ouch, he groaned, why do you always become violent? See you get angry so fast like old. He stopped, seeing Olivia widen her eyes. Okay, now at least help me get up. Olivia extended her hands so that he could hold them and stand up, but when he was about to hold her hand, she took it away, making him fall back again. Olivia started laughing, looking at him. How did I expect you to help me? But my sister will help me, he said, putting his tongue out and showing it to Olivia. Ilana extended her hands only to pull them back, thus making him fall again, and this time both Ilana and Olivia started laughing, doing a high five. What? You too, Ilana. This old lady is putting a bad effect on you, and I can help myself, he said, getting up, dusting his suit. Ilana and Olivia still kept laughing, making Stefan annoyed. He walked away, ignoring them, showing his tongue. He didn't notice the juice had fallen on the ground and slipped and fell again. Ilana and Olivia burst out laughing. Stefan stood up, annoyed, and walked away. Ilana had laughed so much after a long time. The last time she laughed so much was 2 years ago when she had fallen into the dirt. Now she was happy that she stayed in the mansion instead of leaving. Although she didn't like the people around, she really enjoyed every moment with Stefan and Olivia. She didn't annoy anyone in her life. Today, she annoyed 2 people. A servant rang the bell for everyone to come onto the dance floor. The bell indicated the twirling dance. It was a type of dance in which every person had to twirl their dance partners, thus changing partners until one was back with their own. Ilana saw Lord Evan going towards the dance floor, holding Giselle's hand. Then she saw Stefan coming towards her. Sister, if you don't mind, let's go to a dance. That Olivia, I am sure she won't come, he said in a bored tone, making a baby face. She nodded, and they moved towards the dance floor. The servant rang the bell, and everyone started dancing. Ellie, I am warning you. Stay away from that Olivia. I am sure she is jealous of me because I am smarter than her, he said in a serious tone, making her giggle. When will you both stop fighting? She asked in a sarcastic tone. Never. The bell rang. Stefan twirled Ilana, and everyone changed their partners. She felt soft hands hold her hands. It was Lord Evan. She looked up into his eyes. She was surprised to see that his eyes looked golden. She stared at his eyes to check whether she was mistaken, but no, his eyes actually looked golden. She had seen his eyes as red or brown at times, and once she had seen them as green, but she had never seen golden eyes in her life. She kept on staring to check whether there was any other color as well. Lord Evan caught her staring. Already falling for me? He smiled, the dimple on his cheek deepening. Her face flushed beet red at getting caught staring. She kept quiet instead of speaking. After all, it was her fault. She shouldn't have stared like a foolish duck. The Lord spoke, trying to break the silence and coax her into speaking. I hope you didn't get into a fight with someone at the party, he said, giving a mischievous smile. I do have other work to do rather than fighting, my lord. Oh, is that so? I didn't really know that. Really? She asked in an annoyed tone. Yes, was his immediate response. He then pulled her closer to him and whispered, You look beautiful. Chapter 7. Lord Evan tightened his grip around her waist, bringing her closer. Ilana felt all her senses seize. She was certain that she hadn't misheard him. Anyone could get flattered when someone like the Lord himself would compliment. The devil himself had blessed him with that handsome face. What was she thinking? An alarm rang in her head. Getting back to her senses, she looked at the Lord's sparkling goldenish brown eyes while he returned the stare. The corner of his lips moved upwards into a smile. Before she could speak, the bell rang and the Lord twirled her. She was twirled one last time by an unknown person, and then she was back with Stefan. You know what, you and Evan look cute together, Stefan said, only to see her eyes widen. Then, I can say you look good with Olivia. She teased him, knowing that he would surely react. "No, no, no," he shouted childishly. Everyone in the hall looked at him. This was the third time at the party that people stared at him. Now what happened to that stupid? They heard Olivia speak. "Stefan. Slowly, or else people will be suspicious of you." Alana tried to calm him down. "Don't say that again, okay? You know that Olivia thinks me as her sacrificial goat. Didn't you see? She is so violent. She is not that bad. She is really good." Stefan made his eyes wide and shook his head. "Okay, okay, I won't say, but then even you will not pair me with the Lord. Okay." After the dance finished, all the high-class members gathered in a meeting hall for a business talk with Lord Evan, Stefan, Olivia, and Alana present. The hall was furnished with a large table in the center and numerous chairs surrounding it. Alana sat beside Olivia. While the others were busy talking about business, the two empires, and their hatred for the humans. Humans are crowded over an iris. "I wonder how the queen handles those filthy creatures," an aged man with his spectacles on his nose spoke. Didn't they know there was a human standing among them? Alana thought. It was true that humans were more in Iris than in Benetton. Iris was a werewolf, and the vampires never entered the land except for vital work, due to the threat to their lives. In the same way, Benetton was a vampire land. Vampires and werewolves were the high-class beings. Humans, being of the lower class, stayed in both lands, but in Benetton, vampires were in large numbers, seeking prey to satisfy their thirst. Iris was much safer for humans compared to Benetton, and that was one of the reasons humans were more numerous there. "What do you think about humans, Lord Evan?" another man said. He was in his late 30s, with a black beard that had turned a bit silver with age. "Well, I think they're quite interesting," the Lord said, taking a glance at Alana and continuing to take a sip of wine from his goblet. Alana stared at the ground as if it were the most interesting thing. Then what could she do when people were bursting out with their anger on poor humans? She thought she was the only one who hated vampires, but there was a lot more when it came to vampires. "If you are bored, you can go and enjoy the party," Olivia said, shaking Alana, who was busy staring at the ground. Alana sighed internally and nodded. She gave a quick bow and left the room filled with vampires. Instead of wandering in the hall where she didn't know anybody, she went to the garden. The garden was beautiful, with different kinds of trees it held. The garden wasn't as big as Davy's garden, and it didn't have flowers, but it was enchanting in its own way. There was a forest on the other side of the garden. Alana walked towards the forest. The gentle cold wind hit her face, forming goosebumps all over her body. While walking, she felt someone follow her. Picking up a wooden stick from the ground, she turned quickly. She saw a figure emerging from the forest. She held the stick tightly and started running towards the hall. Just before she could reach the garden, she saw a wolf jump in front of her, making her stop in her path. She shivered, looking at the wolf. No, it wasn't a wolf. It was twice as big as an ordinary wolf. That means it was a werewolf. "No," Alana muttered, slowly holding the stick closer to her chest. It was the vampires who killed humans to fulfill their thirst, but it didn't mean that the werewolves didn't attack humans. Whatever it may be, vampires or werewolves, the humans were always the prey for the dark creatures. There was no way out, and the only thing that could happen was her body lying on the floor, lifeless. The wolf pounced on her. She closed her eyes out of fear. In that split second, she heard a thud sound on the ground. Opening her eyes slowly, she saw the wolf lying cold on the floor. Blood oozed out of its neck, dampening the ground. And then she saw the man who was the cause of the werewolf's condition, her savior. The Lord of Benetton stood there, his eyes almost red. He smirked, looking at the creature's lifeless body. Chapter 8. Alana looked at the Lord of Benetton, who had his eyes closed. When Lord Evan opened his eyes, they were back to their standard color. "Are you okay?" he asked, concerned, moving towards her. Alana nodded in response. If it weren't for the Lord rescuing her, she would have died until now. Suddenly, they heard a howl of a wolf from a far distance. She looked around to see a group of werewolves encircling them. "Someone please save us from these creatures," she muttered under her breath. Evan took hold of her hand and carried her in his arms. Ready for a ride? He smirked, looking at her. What are you doing? Leave me, she asked, alarmed by his sudden movement. Doesn't he know that they were held captive between the werewolves? And God knows what ride he was talking about. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden howl of a werewolf, making her flinch in Evan's arms. My, how troublesome. I don't have time to answer your questions. Can you see we have unwanted company? He glanced at the werewolves, and then she experienced a whirl of wind around her as he ran at his vampiric speed. She closed her eyes quickly. For a few seconds, she felt like everything was blank until there was a sudden halt. She opened her eyes. She was now back in front of the mansion. He put her back on her feet. Didn't I say you to stay near Stefan or Olivia? He moved towards her. I am sorry, my lord, she said apologetically, rubbing her arms abruptly due to the cold. Evan noticed her movement and took out his coat. Wear this, it should keep you warm, he said, draping it over her. I am fine. Alana shook her head, trying to return his coat, but seeing him raise an eyebrow and the cold wind still blowing, she decided to wear it. Thank you, my lord. The jacket was warm as she wore it, and she could smell the strong and sweet scent it held. She looked at the lord from the corner of her eye and saw him lost in deep thought while walking. While returning to the mansion, Lord Evan left in his carriage while Stefan, Olivia, and Alana were in the other carriage. Alana could feel the intense gaze radiating from Stefan, who was sitting in front of her. Looking up at him, she saw him turn his face, looking outside the window with a grin etched on his face. She didn't understand why he was smiling, but it was his nature to smile and be happy all the time. The Lord had never given any of his things to anyone, and seeing Evan's jacket wrapped around Alana made him smile. Once they reached the mansion, she said goodbye to all of them and headed towards her room. Opening the knob, she pushed the door shut behind her. Going to bed, she lay on it. It was a tiring yet enjoyable day, except for the werewolves who ruined everything. Anyway, the Lord saved her at the end. He was a good man, she thought. Due to tiredness, she didn't realize when her eyes shut and she fell asleep. On the other side of the mansion, Lord Evan was standing on his room's balcony, looking at the sky, along with Stefan beside him. Evan and Stefan shared an unbreakable bond. Both brothers would often stand under the moonlight on the balcony and talk to each other. Evan, I saw Alana wrapped in your coat. I mean, what's the matter? Stefan spoke, breaking the silence. He saw Evan turn his face to look at him. A werewolf was going to attack her, but before anything could happen I arrived there and killed it. Moreover, I think the one I killed was the leader of the pack. What? You're telling me now, and you killed the leader. It will surely add fuel to the conflict between the vampires and the werewolves, Stefan said, flabbergasted by his revelation. Yes, I know, but what can we do now? Evan looked at his palm. His veins were slowly turning black, which was clearly visible. Stefan, my powers are increasing. We need to find her fast. Do you think that we can find her? We don't even know where she lives or how she looks. Can't you find yourself another mate? I can't marry anyone except her. The girl with the mate mark, only she can control my powers. He looked at the sky in deep thoughts. But what if we never find her? She's my mate. She's destined to be with me. I will find her anyhow. Chapter 9. When Alana woke up the next morning, she felt tired. Her eyelids were heavy due to a lack of sleep, and she wanted to stay in bed. Remembering that she had to meet Olivia at midnight, she got up to a sudden halt. It was 11 in the morning and she was still sleeping. She had to go for the job. Getting down from the bed, she heard a knock on the door. A young maid entered, holding a tray filled with food. Looking at the food, mice started running in her stomach. She hadn't eaten any food at the party yesterday, as most of the food was made for vampires, which contained blood, and she had refused it politely. Here, your food, the maid said, handing the tray to Alana. His Highness has gone out for some work and will return in the evening. So, today you have a holiday. The maid gave a broad smile, her hazel eyes shining luminously. Her expression amused Alana. I am Alana. What's your name? She asked, and saw the maid think for a few minutes and then reply. Marie, she replied. Thank you for the food, Marie. My pleasure. With that, the maid left the room. Alana brushed her teeth and sat on her bed to eat. She tore the bread into 2 pieces and stuffed it inside her mouth. She had nasty eating habits. Her aunt would always scold her for her eating habits. After finishing her meal, she kept the tray on the table and quickly moved downstairs to meet Olivia. Olivia must have waited for her at midnight, and she was sleeping like a child. Alana scolded herself internally. Reaching downstairs, she saw Stefan instructing a maid about something. Thinking he would know about Olivia, she fastened her footsteps. Stefan dismissed the maid when Alana arrived. Hello, sister. Hello, Stefan. Do you know where Olivia is? Alana asked for a quick reply from him. She's gone to the nearby town for some errands to run herself and will come back tonight. She's a hard-working woman. Perhaps I don't believe it. He waved his hand in the air, making Alana chuckle. You didn't see the whole mansion, right? I'll arrange a trip to the mansion for you. So shall we? Alana nodded her head. The whole day was left for Olivia to return so that she could speak to her, and it was better to look at the mansion than sit in her room and get bored. They started walking through the large corridor, one side that was covered by a wall and the other exposed the small pond, which was met by a tall fence again. Wow. There's a pond inside the mansion. Yes, Evan stays calm due to the water bodies. Stefan looked at the pond, thinking about something. Alana didn't understand what he meant by stays calm due to water bodies, but she stayed quiet, looking at Stefan, who was in deep thought. Suddenly, he snapped his head. Come, I will show you somewhere, he said. He took hold of Alana's hand and led her 2 floors up to a vast room that was guarded by 2 bulky guards who stood aside and bowed as Stefan and Alana entered the room filled with paintings. There were various and naturally colored paintings of past kings and queens, dukes and duchesses, and other royal figures. Looking around, her eyes landed on a picture at the end of the vast room. She made her way towards the big picture frame. The picture depicted a woman with long, chestnut hair to her waist, big, captivating brown eyes, and a gentle smile on her lips. Alana moved her hand towards the painting to touch it, and that was when she heard a voice. She is Evan's mother. Beautiful, isn't she? Stefan said, walking towards her. Yes. So she's your mother? Well, no, she is Evan's mother, he said, looking at her. What's the difference? You both are siblings after all. We are, but I am not Evan's blood-related brother. I am sorry, she apologized, realizing she shouldn't have spoken about it. You need not be sorry. She looked at Stefan, who had a calm expression. I was brought by Evan from the streets and declared as his lost brother. I was a vampire since birth, but I don't know anything about my parents or where I belong. Evan had always loved and cherished me like his own brother. I never felt like I was adopted. No one knows that I am adopted except for me, Evan, Olivia, and now you. For the whole world, I am the prince, the blood-related sibling of the Lord of Veneton. Alana didn't know what to say after listening to Stefan's revelation about his bloodline, Evan's adoption of him, and the secret that remained undiscovered by anyone. She stayed quiet until a sudden realization hit her head. She had heard Giselle speak about Stefan being brought from the streets, after which the Lord had fumed with anger. How does Giselle know about it? I don't know how she got to know. Evan was saying maybe she heard someone speaking, but the truth is we never spoke about it. It's rather strange, Alana stated to hear him agree. Yes, indeed it is. I promise you, Stefan, I will never tell the secret to anyone and never accuse you like that, Giselle. God knows what she thinks of herself. If something ever goes wrong, you can kill me with your own hands, she said, holding his hand and saw him snap his head up, looking at her. Don't ever say like that. I will never kill you, whatever the situation might be, he said, shaking his head. I know you won't say anything to anyone. I trust you, my little sister. A tear escaped her eyes, and she saw Stefan wipe it off. Why are you crying? He asked, concerned, and she shook her head, indicating nothing. They exited the room. Alana felt fortunate after hearing him. They just met a few days ago, and still, he believed her blindly. Stefan, except for his playboy persona, had a sad past, but it seemed he loved his present, and she had seen both brothers together. Indeed, Evan was truly considerate of Stefan. She was happy that he was enjoying his life now. Walking through the mansion, she came to know that her room was just 2 rooms away from Lord Evan's room, whereas Stefan's and Olivia's rooms were at the farthest end of the corridor. She saw the ancient sculptures, abstract arts, canvas, instruments, chariots of the royal family, and the garden she had wished to visit since she had seen it from the window of her room. It was already dawn after they finished exploring the mansion. Alana bid Stefan farewell and walked towards her room. She turned the doorknob and stepped inside her room. She took a seat near the window and looked outside at the sky. Life was filled with sorrows. Everyone had their own piece of sadness. She lost her parents, she lost her sister, and she was a burden on her relatives. Life was never fair to her. Thinking about all this had only made her throat dry. She got up and picked the jug only to see it was empty. She exited her room and headed to the kitchen. She was thankful that there was nobody in the kitchen. Filling the jug quickly, she started walking towards her room. It was a danger to wander in the mansion alone when there were a bunch of vampires starving for human blood. She fastened her steps when she was 3 rooms away from her room. That was when she heard a woman speaking in a frightened voice. "Pardon me, master," she heard the woman stammering. Alana held the jug closer to her bosom and moved towards Lord Evan's room. Peeping from the half-open door, she saw a woman sitting on her knees as if pleading for forgiveness. It was Marie, the maid, who brought her breakfast in the morning. Her eyes were filled with tears, but there was something unusual about them. Her bright hazel eyes, which Alana saw in the morning, had changed to dull gray eyes, which for some reason haunted her. "You will not be forgiven," and with that, Lord Evan made her stand abruptly and dug his fangs into the maid's neck. Alana flinched, taking in the scene. The glass jug in her hand fell to the ground and broke into pieces, thus drawing unwanted attention from the Lord. Chapter 10. Alana's POV. Evan's gaze immediately shifted towards me. His bloodshot eyes made shivers crawl down my spine. But I didn't care. I stared at Maria's corpse. I was devastated by the sudden death. Just in the morning, she was giving that lovely smile of hers, and now she was dead. Her corpse was lying on the floor with those pierced marks, just like my parents. And this all happened just because of him. The scenario of my parents' corpses lying on the ground played in my mind repeatedly. Why does this always happen? Why do the innocent have to pay for nothing? I kept on cursing Lord Evan that I didn't even listen to him yelling. And when I looked up, he was standing right in front of me. His fangs were clearly visible, and his eyes were bloodshot as if any moment he would suck all the blood out of me. "What are you doing here?" I gulped at his hoarse voice. I didn't reply and instead stared at Maria's corpse. Once again, everything played in my mind. "You smell so sweet," I heard him speak, licking his lips. He did what I was afraid of. He closed the remaining distance by stepping ahead and held my waist with his big, muscular arms. Putting all my hair on one side, he brought his lips closer to my bare neck. I was scared to death. Death. I was going to die in the next few minutes. Maybe this was written in my fate. I was going to die just like Marie and my parents. His fangs descended on his lips. I shut my eyes. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice. "Evan." "Stop it," Stefan shouted. Letting go of my waist, Evan reluctantly took a step behind. "What are you doing?" "I don't know. I can't control myself." I saw Evan take one more step back and look at me longingly. His eyes turned a bit gentle, but I could still see his fangs aching for blood. "Take her from here." "Now," he yelled. Stefan quickly pulled me to his side and ran out of Lord Evan's bedchambers and closed the large door behind. He held my hand tighter and headed towards my room. I didn't understand what the hell was going on. All I could remember was Lord Evan killing Marie and then trying to kill me until Stefan stopped him. Once we reached my room, Stefan pushed me into my room, making me fall on the ground. I was bewildered. Why did he push me like that? "I am sorry, sister. I have to do this. At the end of the day, it is all in an effort to keep you safe." With this, he shut the door of my room. I was frustrated. I wanted to confront Lord Evan. I wanted to ask him why he killed Marie. I didn't care what Stefan said. I got up and walked towards the door. I tried to open it, but it didn't. I hit the door with my hands, but it didn't move a bit. He locked it. Controlling my aggressive self, I walked to my bed and sat on it. I brought my knees closer to my chest and lowered my head onto them. I wasn't angry. I was sad. Sad for the death of the innocent. Sorry for their pain. How painful it must have been for those merciless vampires bit. How painful it must have been for Marie, mother, father, and everyone who was attacked by those monsters. Let their soul rest in peace. I prayed for all of them. I didn't realize when my eyes shut and I fell asleep. The sunlight hit my face, waking me up. I didn't sleep well last night. The lifeless body of Marie was stuck in my mind. It gave me nightmares. I couldn't sleep at all. It was disastrous. He was disastrous. I hate you, Lord Evan. I just hate you, I blurted out, punching the puffy cushion with my hands. Cursing me? I quickly got up and tilted my head towards the door. I saw Lord Evan standing next to the door. He was wearing a white shirt with the top 3 buttons undone and black pants. He looked so handsome. What the hell am I thinking, and what is he doing here? I flare my nostrils in anger, but then I saw Stefan standing beside him, holding a tray with food. Looking at him, I quickly turned my face to the other direction. I wasn't upset with him, but why did he lock me out yesterday? I was angry at him for locking me in this room, even though he did it to keep me safe. Sorry, sister, he roared, emphasizing it longly. A chuckle escaped my lips, but I quickly covered it with my hands. He was so childish. I wonder why he calls me his minor sister when he himself is a little cute boy. He is so funny, unlike his brother. The thought of Evan made me furious again. I turned around to look at Stefan. I forgive you, Stefan. After all, you locked me to keep me safe from some people who are bumping over innocent people to make them as their prey. I saw Lord Evan give me a death glare. What does he think? I am scared of him. Let me be clear, I am not at all afraid of you, Mr. Bloodsucking Lord. That's great. I thought my little sister was angry at me. Stefan started clapping his hands and grinning like a child. This kiddish brother of mine was so adorable. He placed the food tray on the study table and started walking out of the room. Was he going out, leaving me with that blood-sucking brother of his? No, don't go. Before leaving the room, Stefan placed his hand on Evan's shoulder and said something to which Evan gave an assuring smile. After Stefan left, Evan started walking towards me. I gulped, looking at him. I was still sitting on my bed. I started straightening myself to get up. It's fine. We will sit and talk, he said in a gentle voice and took a seat on the bed. Why was he acting like a gentleman when he's not one? I sat on the bed facing him. I gulped the lump formed in my throat when he came closer. God, please save me from this annoying person. Okay, I am not scared, but at least I don't want to die so soon. I don't know why Stefan opened up to you so easily. I hope you understand what I am talking about. The secret. He finds you as his little sister, but if by any form you hurt my brother, I won't spare you. He took a long breath and continued, Is that clear? He asked in a chilling tone, but I am sure it was a warning. Wait, was he talking about Stefan's adoption secret? Yes, that's the one. Just as Stefan said, he really doesn't bring up that topic. I still feel strange about how Giselle came to know. I nodded my head, agreeing with him. Good, he said, breathing a sigh of relief. He came closer. My heart starts thumping loudly in my chest at the sudden closeness. You smell so sweet, he tucked the hair strand behind my ear. Bringing his face closer, he whispered into my ear while terror was grasping me. I wish I could have a taste. Oh my lord. Someone, please save me. For God's sake, this person won't leave me until he sucks the life out of me. Suddenly, he got up and stared at me with his fists clenched. I understood that he was trying to control his thirst. He looked at me for the last time and dashed out of the room without a single word. What the hell is wrong with this man? Thank God he didn't kill me. I breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 11. It had been a week after the awkward conversation with Lord Evan in my chambers. After that, all I did was avoid him as much as possible. I knew he was always craving for my blood, but that didn't mean I would give myself up to him. Stefan informed me that Olivia couldn't come because her work was pending and the butler was not ready to come. I always wondered whether there wasn't a butler in the mansion. Usually, all the work management of the mansion was done by the butler. Still, I mostly saw Olivia and Stefan doing the work, and many times I have even heard Olivia scolding Stefan that they were doing it just because of his foolishness, though I didn't understand. In these 6 days, I did my assigned work sincerely and dashed off without even looking at him. Lord Evan was a living trouble for me, which I had to avoid as much as possible so that I didn't end up becoming his prey. Stefan always cheered up my mood by talking about his interests, walking with me in the gardens, and sharing stories about his brother and Olivia. He always spoke like a child when it came to Olivia. Yet I enjoy it. Just like every day, I got up early, but today it wasn't a typical day. It was my sister's birthday. My lovely sister, whom I lost years ago. Tears started filling my eyes remembering her, but I wiped them and looked outside the window. Happy birthday, Olivia, my lovely sister. After finishing eating my breakfast, I quickly exited my room to go to my work as his assistant. On my way, I saw Stefan standing outside Lord Evan's study room. He was in his deep thoughts until I interrupted him. What are you thinking so deeply, Stefan? He quickly turned towards me and waved his hand with a smile. Well, I think I forgot something. Something important. He widened his eyes, which made me amused, my adorable brother. I was going to speak, but then I heard a familiar voice. You forgot her birthday. I didn't expect this. I thought you would have started the preparation, Lord Evan said, completely disappointed by his brother, walking towards me and Stefan. Wait. Whose birthday? I was going to ask when he spoke again. It's Olivia's 18th birthday, and this dumb head forgot that. He slapped Stefan's head gently, another coincidence. Olivia and my sister Olivia were both born on the same day. I sent her to pick the butler so that she couldn't come back early, and we could prepare everything for the party. I was sure that butler wouldn't come so easily after what you did to him, Stefan. Evan glared at Stefan. I quickly tilted my head towards Stefan with wide eyes. What did you do to him, Stefan? He chuckled, thinking about something, which made Evan and me confused. Nothing important, sister. He waved his hand again in the air. Perhaps nothing important, just throwing spiders on that poor butler, pushing him in the well, and God knows what and all you did to him, Evan remarked. What? Stefan pushed the butler into the well. God. This is unbelievable. How can he act so childishly? I widened my eyes at Stefan for an answer. Evan, why are you talking like that, Olivia? And sister, don't worry. That man was challenging me that he is braver than I am. So, I just wanted to check his bravery, and he proved it wrong, he chuckled again. I couldn't help but laugh along, making Evan widen his eyes at me. You're supporting him. I nodded and then shook my head. What was I doing? I couldn't stop laughing at Stefan's way of testing the butler's bravery. Evan got annoyed when I didn't stop laughing. He cleared his throat and started speaking. Now enough. We need to start all the preparation for Olivia's birthday. I nodded, and Stefan did the same. All the maids and servants started bringing white lilies to decorate the mansion. Stefan told me that it was Olivia's favorite flowers. Evan and I were checking the decoration, and Stefan went to collect Olivia's birthday dress. The entire mansion was adorned with white lilies, pink curtains, and beautiful lighting. Apart from being the captain's guard, Olivia was more like a sister to Evan and a friend to Stefan. Even though Stefan and Olivia always fought with each other like cat and mouse, Stefan still cared about her, and I was happy for that. Walking through the mansion, my eyes fell on a maid who was shaking with fear and trying to fix the door-hanging necklace of lilies, which was broken. I walked towards her. What happened to the necklace? I asked her politely. I saw her fidgeting with her fingers, still holding the necklace in her hand. I placed my hand on her shoulder. Don't worry. I won't tell anyone. She looked at me with glistening eyes. I was trying to hang it on the doorstep, but it broke by mistake. Forgive me, she apologized. It's okay. Give it to me. I will try to mend it. You can do some other work. I extended my hand. At first, she hesitated to hand over the necklace to me, but finally gave it to me when I assured her that I wouldn't complain. She left me alone and headed towards the other wing where the other maids were working. Entangling my fingers in the necklace, I tried hard to mend it. In the process, I even cut my finger due to the strings. This necklace was annoying. It was not ready to get mended. I flared my nostrils in anger and started trying for the last time when I felt two arms wrap my hands as if hugging me from behind. I was going to scream until I heard a familiar voice. "It's done like this." Evan's breath fanned my shoulders, and he took the necklace from my hands and twisted the strings, followed by tying it in a knot, thus mending the necklace. I was trying to mend it for the whole 10 minutes, and he did it in a split second. I looked at the necklace, all amused, and took it from his hands until I realized how close we were standing. I cleared my throat, and he quickly moved back. "Thank you, Your Highness." I thanked him. I didn't want him attacking me again. So, I quickly turned around and started walking towards the other side. I halted when a hand grabbed my wrist all of a sudden. I breathed and felt scared even to turn. "Will he attack me again?" "No. Are you trying to avoid me, Alana?" he asked, making my throat dry. How did he know that I was trying to avoid him? He will surely not leave me this time. "No, milord." Why would I do that? I lied. What else could I do? I couldn't tell him that I was actually avoiding him so that he wouldn't kill me. Suddenly, he pulled me, my back hitting his chest. Releasing my wrist, his hand snaked around my waist. "Are you afraid of me?" I could feel his breath on my ears. With his free hand, he took hold of my finger, which was cut while mending the door hanging, and licked the blood on it. Once the bleeding stopped, he let go of my finger. My heartbeat was fastening because of the closeness. He was deathly close to me. I wriggled, but his grip was too firm. Why wouldn't it be? He was a vampire. And who isn't afraid of a vampire? But still I replied courageously. "No." I heard a chuckle. "Then why is your heart beating like a hammer in your chest?" he whispered in my ear. All my blood rushed up to my cheeks. I must be looking like a tomato, and my heart was pounding even louder. I wriggled more, and this time he let me go. I quickly bowed, looking at him. He had an unusual smirk on his face. Without wasting any time, I rushed to the other wing. I palmed my chest once I reached the other wing. My heart was still pounding in my chest. I was wholly embarrassed. Chapter 12. Olivia sat in front of Mr. George in the carriage. He was the butler of the Davies mansion. He had quit his job as a butler and came back to his hometown. Evan had told Olivia to fetch him back. After a lot of convincing, Mr. George agreed to come back. That stupid Stefan. This was all happening because of him. He didn't get someone else to play his stupid pranks on. Thought only of Olivia to herself. It was a tiring day, and now she just wanted to rest as soon as they reached the mansion. She looked at Mr. George, who was staring at her with his light brown eyes ever since they had seated in the carriage. George was a man of average height and muscular physique. He was a vampire and served the royal family for decades. Olivia raised her brows. "What's it, Mr. George?" She gave him a questioning look. "You look tired, Mississippi Hughes?" He smiled when she sighed. "All thanks to Stefan," she said in a lazy tone. "Prince Stefan is way too childish, isn't it?" "Of course, he is a kid." The carriage halted in front of the mansion. Both of them descended from the carriage. Olivia widened her eyes, looking at the sight in front of her. Luminous lights were illuminating the mansion. She saw Evan, Alana, and Stefan, who were all standing in front of the large door of the mansion. They all smiled widely, which made her even more confused. "Lady Olivia, happy." George was interrupted by Stefan, who came running. "Happy birthday, Olivia." Stefan widened his arms and hugged Olivia, startling her. He backed off after wishing her. It was her birthday, and she had forgotten it. She scolded herself internally. After that, she saw Evan and Alana heading towards her. "What did you think?" "You will be the first one to wish her." "Mr. George, did you forget?" "I am braver than you." She heard Stefan taunting George. "Stefan won't spare that poor man," she thought. Evan hugged Olivia and wished her once they reached the spot where she was standing. "Happy birthday, Olivia. May your life be filled with happiness and you stay the same forever. Lovely and brave like you are." Come on, Evan. Don't speak like an old man, Stefan said sarcastically, and Ilana giggled, hearing him. After Evan finished greeting, Ilana wished Olivia and took her upstairs to Olivia's room, as instructed by Evan. Ilana explained to Olivia that after she freshens up and gets ready, they will enter the main hall, where the guests are present. After Olivia took a warm shower, I told her to wear her birthday gown. It was a beautiful, sleeveless red ball gown with intricate designs, and Stefan was right, she looked lovely in it. Her red gown accentuated her fair skin and honey brown eyes. I made her sit in front of the mirror. I was good at hairstyling, so I requested that Evan do her hair. He hesitated at first, but then agreed when I said that I was doing it for my sister. I tied Olivia's long brown cascade into a messy yet elegant bun, putting a few strands in the front. "You look breathtakingly beautiful," I complimented her once I finished making her hair. She blushed, looking at me. Olivia always wore her armor suit or casual dress. It was only at the business party that I saw her in party wear, but today she looked lovely, and I am sure every person at the party would have their eyes fixed on her. Those brown silky hair, honey brown eyes, the way of talking, elegance, everything resembles my sister. Olivia is very similar to her. So do you. Olivia's compliment brought me out of my thoughts. Thank you. I glanced at my reflection in the mirror. I was wearing a navy blue off-shoulder gown, which Stefan had brought for me along with Olivia's dress. I refused to take it, but then he was so stubborn that I eventually had to accept it. I purposely let my hair loose because I didn't have time to style it, but to look elegant, I braided a few strands of hair on the right side and secured them to the back of my head. Once Olivia was ready, I exited the room along with her. Everyone's gaze immediately shifted towards Olivia as we descended the stairs. Once we were precisely in the center of the hall, below the large crystal chandelier, everyone walked towards us and wished Olivia. I quickly bowed and left so that I didn't disturb her. After cutting the cake, the guests started giving their presents to Olivia. I stood near the dance floor, looking at Olivia and Stefan talking. Stefan had said something, holding the gift in his hand, to which Olivia had glared at him like every time and then taken it from him. They looked adorable together. A servant brought a tray filled with drinks. I was going to pick one when a hand yanked mine. I quickly looked at the person who did that rude act. I met a pair of red-brown eyes. "Don't drink it," Evan ordered me. "Why?" "Because I said." "You can drink those." He pointed at the other servant holding a tray with different drinks and started talking to a blonde-haired lady who had just come in. What? Who is he to tell me what I should drink and what I should not? Perhaps that drink is quite delicious. So, he doesn't want me to taste it. Now, I will surely drink that. I looked at Evan, who was busy talking to the lady, who was blushing for no apparent reason. Taking the chance, I quickly took the juice from the tray, which Evan had refused to let me take. The waiter looked at me with widened eyes. "Milady, His Highness has refused you to dash." "Shoo." I quickly shushed him and signaled him to leave. He rushed soon without staying for a moment. Bringing the glass to my lips, I sipped the liquid. It wasn't as tasty as I thought. Instead, it tasted bitter. Yuck. It was so bitter. But if he had refused to let me take it, then there must be something unique about it. I glanced at Evan, who was still busy talking to the woman with a bored expression. Without wasting any time, I downed the whole juice in one gulp. I called that waiter again who had served me the juice earlier and took another glass than the one I had. I kept on drinking more glasses of the same juice until I had no more left. The waiter looked at me, completely shocked, but didn't utter a word and left when I motioned for him to do so. But then all of a sudden, I felt like everything around me was interesting. My body seemed very light and relaxed. I felt like I was flying. The feeling was heavenly amazing. Maybe the juice was brought from heaven for me. And so, Evan didn't allow me to drink it. He is jealous of me, but still I drank it. Yippee! I giggled and turned to my side to tell him that his efforts didn't work, and I drank that heavenly juice, but to my surprise, he was not present there. Forget it. Why should I waste my precious time on him? Tring. The bell for the dance rang so loudly. I whined, covering my ears. "Someone, please stop that cranky bell." I looked around. Few had already gathered on the dance floor, and some were asking others for a dance. To my surprise, Stefan and Olivia were also present on the dance floor together. A man came walking towards me and smiled sheepishly. In return, I gave him my most appealing smile. He was being so kind. "May I ask you for a dance, beautiful?" The man spoke in his husky voice and extended his hand when he was just in front of me. Without any second thought, I nodded and was going to place my hand on his when a voice interrupted me. "I am sorry, Mr. Gainan, but Mississippi Wilson owes me a dance," Evan said, grabbing my hand. When did I promise him a dance? Maybe I told him, but now I was nowhere in the mood to dance with him. I gave an apologetic smile to that gentleman and tried to free my hand from Evan's grip, but to no avail. My legs started trembling once we reached the dance floor. Evan placed one hand on his shoulder, and the other was holding his hand. His one hand made its way to my waist and tightened when I was going to fall due to my trembling legs. What was wrong with me? Why couldn't I stand properly? But I still felt so light. Like I was flying. Chapter 13. Evan's POV. "What did you eat, Alana?" I asked, holding her tight. If I left her loose even for a minute, she would surely collapse on the floor. She giggled. "I drank the heavenly juice," she replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "Heavenly juice? What kind of juice is that?" "Wait. Did you?" I was interrupted when she steadied herself all of a sudden and looked straight into my eyes. "I drank the one you refused me to," she said proudly, and then giggled again. Why doesn't this girl listen to me? "How many?" She looked at me thoughtfully and then started counting. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. God. This girl. She had probably got fully drunk to behave like this. "Lost count," she stated, finally giving up on her mindless counting. "Didn't I tell you not to drink it?" I raised my brows for an answer. "Who are you to tell me?" She freed her right hand from my hold and pointed towards my chest. She said ever so loudly that everyone looked at us for a minute, then continued with their dance. Does she forget I am a king, a vampire to be precise? It is a special wine for vampires. Humans can't hold it, and that was the reason I told you not to drink it. Really? She made a puppy face. She looked so cute. The lights in the hall dimmed. Taking the chance, I quickly carried her in my arms and carefully walked towards the corridor. A couple saw us and smiled. God knows what they were thinking. I headed to her room and lay her on the bed. It was better that she stayed here rather than creating a scene at the party. And as far as I know, it will at least take a day to get her senses back. I was about to leave when a hand held mine. "Why did you kill Marie? Seriously?" She wanted to know that in her subconscious state. I don't think she will let it go. I didn't want to tell her, but she won't keep quiet until she gets the truth. It was better that I tell her, at least she will be cautious. She came here to kill me. I finally decided to tell her. She didn't look like a killer. Looks are deceiving, Alana. Why she wanted to kill you? I knew she would ask this. She is a curious one after all. I took a seat on the bed. She was still holding my hand and looking at me with her half-open eyes. "You remember the werewolf I killed while rescuing you on the day of the business party?" She nodded. "He was Maria's brother. She came here to take revenge by killing me." She looked a bit shocked as her eyes welled up with tears. "I am sorry. They tried to kill you because, despite your warning, I went out, and you had to kill that werewolf to save me." She apologized, tears leaking from her eyes. "It's okay." I looked at my hand, which she was holding, and when I looked back at her, she was fast asleep. I covered her with the quilt and placed a kiss on her forehead. After freeing my hand from hers, I left the room quietly and headed to the courtroom. I was sitting on my throne. Olivia and Stefan were standing in front of my throne, a bit far on lower ground. After Olivia's birthday party ended, everyone, including Olivia, Stefan, all the soldiers of our army and the council members, had gathered in the courtroom. Olivia came forward and bowed. I nodded. "Are you ready, Olivia?" I asked, to which she nodded in reply. I raised my hand, signaling to start the process. The head counsel stood straight in front of me and started reading the protocols. As per the agreement, Mississippi Olivia Hugh will be turned into a vampire on her 18th birthday. She will be turned by a pure-blood vampire so that she can serve the army of Veneton for as long as she can. He glanced at Olivia, who nodded for him to continue. The Prince of Veneton takes his pride in turning Mississippi Hughes went into one of them. I looked at Stefan, who had a blank expression. As expected. May the process proceed, the head counsel announced. Years ago, it wasn't like it is now. Vampires in the towns used to kill humans for blood, and the kidnapping of kids was common. I found Olivia when she was just 6 years old. A few of the men were trying to kidnap her, and even though the little girl was scared, she wanted to fight them with all her might. That was what caught my attention. I rescued her from the kidnappers and brought her to my mansion. She stayed in the mansion and worked in the gardens. One day, I came to know from one of my soldiers that Olivia gave a hard fight to one of my young vampire soldiers who tried to challenge her. At that time, she was 12 years old. A human giving a hard fight to a vampire was unexpected. So, I thought to enroll Olivia in my army. She exceeded my expectations, and even more so than I had expected. She trained herself hard and defeated the head of the guards, who was a well-built vampire with pure blood of the royals. It was obvious that the one who defeats the head guard would be the next head. Olivia was honored as the new head guard of Veneton's army. It was a rule that the head guard should be a vampire and contain the pure blood of the royals. So, Olivia had to be turned into a vampire by one of the purebloods. Olivia was afraid of becoming a vampire earlier, so I didn't force her to get turned. Instead, I made the agreement to get her turned on her 18th birthday. She was well, even as a human. I didn't mind if she served the army still as a human, but it would cause unnecessary conflicts among the empires, so it was better to get her turned. I had asked her whether she was okay with it, and she had no pressure. She said she was pretty happy to serve Veneton's army as a vampire, which would make her stronger. That was enough for my assurance. Stefan was a born vampire, but I had turned him into a pure-blood vampire. The pure-bloods had the longest lifespan. The one who a vampire turns will get the same lifespan as the vampire. I thought it was better that Stefan turned Olivia because I think she interacted more with him. Even though they always fought, that didn't mean they didn't care for each other. I raised my hand to start the process. Prince Stefan, you may start, the head counsel stated. I had informed Stefan that he was going to turn Olivia into a vampire, but he took it as a joke. Bad for him. Stefan moved slowly towards Olivia, who had her head down. He stood facing Olivia and moved closer to her. He swept her hair from her left shoulder and leaned forward, descending his fangs. I am sorry, he whispered in my ear, which I could hear clearly because of my vampire abilities. I knew he cared for her, and I am glad I chose him to turn her. Proceed, I shouted. In a second, Stefan circled his arm around Olivia, drawing her closer and dug his fangs into her neck. Olivia winced but stood steady. I could see her losing her balance, but Stefan made sure she didn't fall. Slowly, she lost her energy and passed out. Stefan carried her in his arms. Done with your process. I will take her now, he yelled and dashed out of the courtroom. Was he angry? Perhaps because I didn't inform him about the process, but I had told him earlier. He was the one who took it as a joke. Drinking blood from a human and turning a human into a vampire looked the same, but there were a lot of differences. While drinking, a vampire drinks the blood of a human, whereas while turning, a vampire drinks the blood and exchanges his own blood to turn the person. The turning process was more painful than drinking. I dismissed the court and walked to my room. I saw Alana's room on my way. Slowly turning the doorknob, I peeked inside the room to see her sleeping. She looked so calm and serene, exactly opposite from her talkative self. Her neck was bare. I felt the sudden urge for her blood, but at the same time, I was feeling extremely angry for thinking like that. I miss you, Mama, Papa, she muttered in her sleep, making my head snap out of my thoughts. I wonder what happened to her parents? She missed them. Chapter 14. Alana's POV. Next morning, I woke up holding my head. It was hurting so bad. Why the hell was it hurting in the first place? I tried to recall what had happened. I facepalmed myself when yesterday's incidents flashed back in my head. I drank that stupid vampire wine despite Evan refusing me, and then I was fully drunk and behaving like a fool. Then Evan told me the reason why he killed Marie, and I apologized for causing the trouble, and then I fell asleep. Oh God. I don't know what Evan must be thinking about me. Maybe he'd assumed that I was an insane person. No, that wasn't going to happen. He would understand that I wasn't in my senses. My fault, I drank that juice. I want to apologize for my erratic behavior yesterday and clarify everything before I get rid of this goddamn headache. I got up from the bed and headed to my bathroom. I brushed my teeth quickly and took a hot water shower. The shower actually worked, and now at least my head isn't hurting that much, but the headache didn't completely go away either. Maybe I need a glass of lime water. I changed myself into a long white frock with floral prints and exited my room. I have only once visited the kitchen, but I remember the route, or that is what I think. However, it won't be that hard to find, right? And once I get into the kitchen, I will grab the lime juice and dash out without a word. I remember the last time I visited the kitchen, I was so close to drinking blood. That was terrible. As I thought, it wasn't that hard to find the kitchen. I entered the kitchen and quickly grabbed the prepared lime juice, but halted when I heard the maid speak. Mississippi Olivia is very strong. I am sure she will survive the turn quicker than anyone else. I turned to see a maid with brunette hair speak. Yeah, there's a reason why she's the head guard. Now she will be stronger than ever. Not that she wasn't strong already, but I feel like she didn't want to become a vampire. That made me stop on my way. I thought Olivia was a vampire. Then what are these maids speaking about? There was only one way to find out. What do you mean? Wasn't Olivia already a vampire? The maid looked at me, utterly shocked. No, miss. The head in command wasn't a vampire. She was supposed to be turned on her 18th birthday, and she was turned yesterday. The maid's confession took me off guard. What? Was all I could say. Yes, ma'am. She's in her room right now. Can you please show me the way to her room? Of course. The maid guided me to Olivia's room. Once I reached Olivia's room, the maid left. I always thought that Olivia was a vampire, but no. She was a human. I felt so worn out being the only human in the house, but again, I wasn't the only human. Evan told me that there was no human in the house. He lied to me. What can I even expect from him? Taking a deep breath, I knocked and opened the door. I stepped inside the room. Olivia was lying on the bed, sleeping. I stepped ahead when all of a sudden someone pulled me. I was going to scream, but the person covered my mouth with his palm. What the hell? SSHHHH. Stefan placed his finger on his lips, gesturing me to remain silent. I was going to bite his hand if he hadn't spoken. I slowly nodded, agreeing with him. He removed his hand from my mouth and led me towards the balcony of Olivia's room. As soon as we were on the balcony, I spoke. What's going on, Stefan? Why did you bring me here? And what happened to Olivia? Is she a vampire? Oh, calm down, sister. I will answer your questions, he said, placing his hands on my shoulder. I tilted my head. He was right. I had to stay calm. So, I nodded for him to continue. Olivia is a vampire now, he said. Wasn't she already a vampire? Evan told me that I was the only human in the whole mansion. No, she was a human. Evan told that. Yeah. I don't know why he told you. Maybe he forgot to say to you that Olivia was a human. Well, he inhaled a long breath. I turned her. What? But why? Vampires weren't allowed to turn humans against their will. That meant either Stefan turned her by force or Olivia herself told Stefan to turn her. But why would she do that? Wasn't she happy with her human life? These questions were making me crazy. I had to clear my mind before it bursts. Did you turn her by force? No. There wasn't any force. She herself accepted it. Wasn't she happy with her human life? It's a rule to turn the head guard into a vampire. Evan didn't turn her earlier because you know vampires don't age once they're turned, and Olivia wasn't yet ready, but it was fixed that she would be turned on her 18th birthday, and she herself agreed with the condition. I see. I couldn't find words to say. What would I say in the first place? So I stood there silently. I don't kind of agree with it. And I hate Evan for making me turn her. This caught me by surprise. I knew Stefan didn't actually mean it when he said he hated Evan. As far as I know, Stefan and Evan had an unbreakable bond with each other, and nothing could break them apart. But the way Stefan said it, it evoked a different kind of emotion in Olivia. Concern. Worry. You like her? What? No. I was just... His face was so flustered that I had to control my urge to laugh. It's okay. I was just joking. Look at you. You're fretting so much, I couldn't help but laugh. Sister, he roared, moving towards me. SSHHHH, Olivia will wake up. I know you want to talk to her, but she should get some rest right now. I winked at him and ran out of the room. He was chasing me out of the room. I was teasing him continuously and running in the corridor when I suddenly bumped into someone. I was going to fall, but two muscular arms held me firmly. I looked up to meet a pair of greenish-brown eyes. His eye color changed again, but it looked beautiful anyway. I kept staring at Evan, and he did the same until we heard a coughing voice. I broke eye contact. That was when I realized our position. Stefan coughed again, this time louder. Evan made me stand up. Sister, you know I can tease you with someone as well. Like you did. Stefan's lips turned into a naughty smirk, and he was stealing glances at me and Evan. Then I understood what his underlying meaning was. There was no way I was going to let him ship me with Evan, so I quickly made a bit of distance between me and Evan. Alana, I had some work. Can you please meet me at my office? Evan said. It took me a few minutes to register what he said. Yeah, I will come. Evan started heading towards the office. I started following him. Beauty sister. Enjoy your time. I turned to see Stefan wink at me just like I did minutes earlier. This brother of mine won't leave me alone. I wonder what work Evan has? Chapter 15. Alana's POV. I was going through the files on the shelf. Evan had asked me to fetch some essential documents from the shelf. He was sitting at the table and staring at me as I searched for the files. Finally, I got the file which I was searching for. I picked it from the shelf and turned to meet a pair of green-brown eyes peering into mine. This was the time. I had to apologize to him for my behavior the previous day. I am sorry for. Are you okay, Anne? We both said simultaneously. The former told by me and the latter by him. Yeah, what were you telling? He asks innocently, lifting one of his perfectly shaped eyebrows and a smirk etched on his face. He for sure knew what I was telling. Now, I won't apologize. I know I shouldn't have drunk that stupid wine, but if he had said the reason instead of ordering me not to drink it, then I wouldn't have got so curious to drink it. It was his fault. Okay, not entirely his, but now I won't apologize. He was equally involved in yesterday's situation. I was asking whether what to do with the file. Really? He got up from his chair and took a step towards me. I reluctantly stepped back until my back hit the shelf. His right arm rested on the shelf, and when I tried to move from the other side, his other arm was placed on either side of him, trapping me. I think I heard something else, he said with a smirk etched on his face, moving his face closer to mine. No, I stammered. My heart was beating wildly, and my face was crimson. Ugh, what the hell does this man do to me? Come on. Say it. I won't bite, at least unless you're offering. What the? I am not your meal, my lord. His smirk grew wider, and his face moved even closer. Our faces were just inches apart when someone barged inside. Phew. Bless that person. What is happening over here? Giselle yelled at the top of her throat. Oops. I take back my blessing. Evan moved back and straightened himself, turning to face Giselle. Giselle? Yes, me. You don't know this type of woman, Evan. You should stay away from them. They just want your money. She's awful, Giselle said, throwing looks of disgust at me. I don't understand what this woman thinks of herself. She is insane. It seems like she is describing herself. I wasn't just going to stay quiet and let her insult me for no reason. You are the daughter of a rich man, yet you worked as an assistant for Evan. Now say, who's the one after money? I snapped, making her eyes go round like a potato. I felt like applauding myself for bringing out such an expression from her. It was priceless. Evan seemed amused. Now, what is wrong with him? How dare you speak to me like that? She marched towards me, but before she could reach me, Evan stood in front of me, blocking her way. Giselle, I think you should go. But Evan, she was shocked, angry, upset. I clearly didn't understand her expression. Evan shook his head, and without any further argument, Giselle stomped out. He turned to look at me. Don't mind her words with that. Even he existed. I was standing alone in the study like a dumb girl. First of all, how dare that pathetic woman call me awful names? Secondly, what struck Evan was the way he acted like a gentleman. Whew. I don't understand these people. I placed the files on Evan's desk and exited the study. The whole day was free, and I didn't actually have any work to do. Evan was nowhere to be seen after the last time I had seen him. Later, I met Olivia when she was awake. I don't know whether it was true or I just felt that way, but Olivia looked prettier as a vampire. She was quite happy with her new life, and she didn't have any objections. So I was pleased for her. A week passed. The whole week, I was mostly free. Sometimes, I had a few documentary works, but that was all. Mostly, I would roam the mansion or its gardens, or talk to Stefan and Olivia. Olivia was now fully fit and fine and seemed stronger than ever. I saw Evan very rarely, as he had some errands to do in the other town and was mainly out. Giselle visited the mansion more than usual. She was always wandering around Evan when he was there, and when he wasn't, she acted as if she owned the place. She always had a disgusted face while looking at me. Sometimes I felt like smacking her face, but then I stayed neutral as if I didn't care. Stefan told me to ignore her, and then she would get furious. And he was right. I woke up early today. I had a shower, my breakfast, got ready, and exited my room. As I descended the stairs, I saw Olivia and Evan standing at the doorstep. Both of them had a grumpy expression. Evan was continuously tapping his foot on the floor, looking at his wristwatch. Olivia was holding a huge basket and kept on glancing towards the corridor with an irked expression. I was totally confused why they were so grumpy or irked, whatever. Then, Stefan came from the corridor which Olivia had been glancing at minutes ago. He was entirely covered with dust and cobwebs, and he had an insect net in his hand. He held the stick of the net in his hand and marched towards Evan and Olivia as if he had just won a victory. I didn't understand what happened, but I burst out in laughter, looking at Stefan's condition, drawing all the attention towards me. Olivia looked confused, Stefan started laughing for no reason, and Evan had an amused look again. I tried my best to stop laughing, but looking at Stefan laugh for no reason made me laugh even more. "Hello, sister," Stefan waved at me, and I did the same, like an idiot, still trying hard to stop laughing. "Hold this," Stefan handed the insect net to Olivia. "What are you going to do with this?" Olivia asked, inspecting the net. "I am gonna catch insects and butterflies," he squealed like a child. "What?" "You wasted all this time on this stupid net, Stefan. You took 1 hour to get this. And for what? Catching insects. And look at yourself." Evan scolded Stefan. I didn't understand why, but it seemed like a mother was scolding her child for being mischievous. It made me laugh even more, but I managed to control myself. It wasn't the right time to laugh now. Now I understand why Alana was laughing. How can she resist laughing when a joker is high on his tracks to entertain? Olivia added, sighing at Stefan's idiocy. But really, he was fun, wasn't he? Are you calling yourself a joker, Olive? Stefan made his usual innocent puppy face, adding air quotation marks on the word joker. I can't. I sincerely can't control myself anymore. I started laughing again, and everyone stared at me for the second time. Damn. What's wrong with me? Shut up, Alana. Shut up. Breathe in. Breathe out. Calm down. I inhaled a long breath and spoke. You all going somewhere? Stefan was the first to reply, as usual. He told me that they were going on a day outing near the Veneto waterfalls. Wasn't that one of the wonders of Benetton? As far as I know, there's only one waterfall in Benetton. I always wanted to see it. It said that it was a magical spot. I have heard so many stories about the place. Evan caught me off guard when he spoke. You want to come? How could I possibly decline such an offer? Yes, I would love to. You don't have a problem, right? Please don't deny now. I really want to see that place. He hummed in reply. So does that mean I can go? Yippee. Chapter 16. We were in the forest of the Venetian hills. I walked along with Stefan and Olivia on either side. We were following Evan as he led the way to the waterfalls. Olivia was fully irked as Stefan kept on rambling about his plans to play pranks on the butler by throwing insects at him and how he was going to react. I pity poor Mr. George. Stefan surely wasn't going to spare him. The forest seemed quite silent except for Stefan's continuous rambling and the sounds of birds chirping. We had to walk a long distance before reaching the waterfall. Half an hour had already passed, and we were still walking. I wonder if Evan got lost, and we were wandering in the woods. Stefan seemed to mirror my thoughts as he spoke. Evan, are you sure you didn't forget the route? I am not you, Steph. Evan deadpants, turning to him with a blank look. We will reach in a couple of minutes, okay? And then he resumed his march ahead. I was already tired, and I swear, if we don't reach the mansion quickly, then I am going to take a U-turn and go back. Stefan whined the whole journey as he couldn't find an insect. Usually, I enjoyed his childish behavior, but now it was really getting to me. My stomach was grumbling, and my head hurt so bad, like someone was pricking me with thorns. I kept my head bent down and walked, trying not to get frustrated. Okay, I ate food in the morning, and since then, just 3 or 4 hours have passed, but when it comes to food, I can't really control myself for long. It's better if we reach fast. As if God listened to my prayers, Evan said that we were very close to the falls. I was completely awestruck when we reached the Venetian waterfalls. The area was lush with trees and greenery. The water flowed from the high cliff down the huge rocks to collect in the large lake. The place was magnificent. There was something magical about the place. It had a beautiful essence of nature. We settled near the waterfall. Olivia brought food packed in the basket for our stay. After everyone finished eating, Stefan and Olivia jumped into the lake for a swim, and now they were fighting. They had a swimming competition, and no one was ready to accept who lost. Although both of them reached the end of the lake at the same time, each of them thinks of themselves as the winner. These two will always remain kids fighting for anything and everything. I, on the other hand, was standing near the lake and watching them fight. I really love the place, but when it comes to large bodies of water, I am not particularly fond of them, or maybe I'm scared. It's a weird phobia that makes me feel that if I put my foot into water, then I would die. I know it's delusional, but I can't help it. When I was small, I almost drowned twice in a river if it weren't for my father's fetching me out. Henceforth, I have this phobia. You can swim. I didn't refuse you to do that. I snapped my head to the left, startled by the voice. Evan. Yeah, did I forget to mention him? All this time, he was doing God knows what, and now he is here to startle me. He looked very appealing in his white shirt with top buttons undone and black jeans. But what does he mean by, I didn't refuse you to do that, as if I listened to all that he says? I don't need your permission to do anything. Calm down, Ellie. You can't make a tantrum out of a small thing, said my inner voice. I am not on good terms with water, my lord. Huh. I mean, I have this phobia due to which I am afraid of stepping into the water. Let's cure your phobia with that. He tugged my hand and dragged me towards the lake. I was tongue-tied. All I could see was the deep lake in front of me, which freaked the life out of me. No, no, no. I will die. Someone, please save me. I wriggled in his grip. Why does he want to kill me? Please let me go. Tears flooded my eyes, making my vision blurry, and he stopped, looking at me with concern. Hey, are you okay? Evan asked, releasing my hand and cupping my face. I shook my head. How does he expect me to be okay? He was going to put me in that pit of water. I would have died if I drowned. I didn't understand what had taken me, so I started crying right there. My senses were going haywire. I was beginning to get a panic attack, but then 2 warm arms engulfed me. You'll be okay. Calm down, he coos, rubbing my back up and down, chanting encouraging words. I felt my nerves calming in his warm embrace. My senses started becoming normal. I stayed in the same position for a few minutes before moving back. You okay? I nodded without uttering a word. I am sorry. I didn't know you had such an extreme fear. I mean, we didn't even step into the water. He apologized. The great egoistic vampire king apologized to me? That was epic. This instantly made my mood back to normal. You said sorry? It sounded so comical to my own ears. He made a somewhat funny face, like he himself was thinking about the same thing. Great. Chapter 17. From which side did the sun rise today? I mean, what's wrong? Everyone is acting weird. Evan's being an absolute gentleman. Stefan and Olivia are giggling and shooting glances at me and Evan. I, on the other hand, am blushing for no actual reason. What the hell? Confused? Let me take you back a few hours. Evan dragged me towards the lake, and I almost had a breakdown. Then he consoled me and apologized. Apologized? Yeah, that is where everything went wrong and the reason behind everyone's weird behavior, including mine. I remember what happened after that. You said sorry? He is stammering. This is priceless. I have never seen him like this. He's always acted so confident that sometimes I actually felt maybe it was my fault, but now I couldn't hide the wide grin forming on my face. He pulled me all of a sudden, and my chest collided with his. Evan's hand went around my waist, gluing me to him, and then what he did next actually shocked me. He leant forward and kissed my cheek. If that is what makes you happy, then yes, I said sorry and can say it millions of times for that smile. He whispered in my ear so that only I could hear. My heart was palpitating so loudly that I could hear my own heartbeat. My face was crimson. I was immobile. This crazy feeling. Stefan, who was swimming, now had his full attention on us along with Olivia. He started clapping for no apparent reason. I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment, and my heart was a hurricane. Evan let go of me after that. That was a terribly embarrassing moment, which is why everyone was acting weird, and I am blushing. Evan looks absolutely fine, so what's wrong with me? Perhaps I should overlook the fact that something actually happened hours ago and stop making a big deal out of it. He was being a gentleman. That's it. Nothing else. I walked over to Stefan and Olivia. They were still grinning, and I swear, if they don't stop it, I am going to storm out of this place right at that moment. I raised my eyebrow like Evan does to make them stop grinning, but to my efforts, Stefan burst out in laughter and Olivia contained herself from laughing. What's wrong? Why are you laughing, Stefan? I ask with an annoyed expression. The thing you did with your eyebrows, he laughed, he laughed, even louder. Ironic. So, basically, I made a joke out of myself. Great. Shouldn't I applaud myself? Come on. Don't be so mean. She looked cute. Evan came out of nowhere and hooked his arm around my waist, tugging my side closer to his. Okay, so much to my advantage. Even he appeared to make me feel more embarrassed. He thinks I am cute, and why am I making my already crimson face seem like a tomato? Damn face. Damn emotions. Damn feelings. Damn Evan. Freaking shut down. Evan really has to stop behaving like this. What struck him was to act like an idiotic lover all of a sudden. Lover. Why did I utter that word in my head? Stupid. Stupid. Stupid Alana. Alana. I trailed off my thoughts as Stefan shook me vigorously, holding my shoulders. Why do you doze off every time and I have to wake you up? Should I consult a doctor? He asked in a worried tone. Oh my, Stefan. What do I do with you? First of all, Stefan, I did not doze off. I was just thinking, and secondly, for Lord's sake, I am not sick. I snapped. Whoa. That's my sister, Stefan applauded like he had just got a psycho out of her madness. Well, I was behaving like a psycho. Olivia stood there giving me a sweet smile, and Evan never left my side. This was one hell of a day. As midnight approached, we all sat in a circle around the bonfire that had been lit to ward off the deathly cold temperature. You must be thinking why we didn't sleep? Well, Evan informed Stefan, Olivia, and me that we were going to see the mystical falls that appear only once a year. I didn't understand what he meant, though. I thought it had something to do with the stars. Perhaps a meteor would fall or something, but then Stefan told me that mystical falls had something to do with the waterfall, and when it arrived, I had to make a wish. Okay, I ignored what he was actually trying to explain. I was busy studying Olivia's excited expression. She was going to see it for the first time just like me, and I could tell from her face that she was very excited. So, I guess whatever the mystic fall is must be good. 10 seconds to go, Evan declared, and we all focused on the waterfall. I stared at the waterfall for 10 seconds, and the next thing I knew, my hand made its way to my mouth as I gasped, looking at the whole waterfall shine brilliantly in a shade of blue. I couldn't believe my own eyes. The view before me was mesmerizing and divine. No words could describe it. Everything looked magical, as if I were in another world full of magic. The fireflies came into view, surrounding the entire place with their twinkling lights, making it look like a magical world. Wish for something fast before the fireflies fly away, Stefan squealed in excitement. Did I really want something? I didn't understand what to wish for. So, I said the first thing that came to my mind. I wish I could see this whole view again. Chapter 18. Evan's POV. I drummed my fingers continuously on the throne as my minister listed the problems occurring with the residences of Veneton. This was really the most boring work to do. As a lord, I have looked into all of the issues of my pupils, but they are never satisfied. No matter how much I try, the vampires and the humans always have a problem with each other. My mind drifted to Alana. What must she be doing? Yesterday, she was amused by looking at Mystic Falls. Her eyes were glistening with excitement. I could look at that face for eternity. She was truly different, unlike the other women who often throw themselves at me. I snapped my head in the direction of the minister when he said that there was a masquerade ball for all the royals. So, that means all the royals would be present there, even them. I informed my minister that I would be present at the ball with my escort. Royal balls weren't something to miss. We could gather so many new rumors and information. All I need is an escort. I think I know who to ask for. I smiled at her thought and dismissed the court. Alana's POV. Walking in the gardens at night was something I thoroughly enjoyed. The calm wind surrounds, along with the owl hooting in the tree. The gardens looked enchanting and beautiful at night. Everything made the surroundings so quiet, as if there was no worry in the world. When I was small, Olivia and I used to collect different weeds of flowers and sell them in our garden. Those days were amazing. I brushed my fingers on the beautiful purple rose petals. I have never seen purple roses. They were pretty. They are the rare roses. You can pluck one if you want. I almost jumped due to the sudden voice. Oh, I didn't mean to scare you, said Evan. It's okay. You just startled me, I said, holding my palm against my chest. He just smiled and joined me for a walk in the garden. Sometimes, I really don't understand whether he is really so sweet or just acting so. One part of my mind says to believe it, but the other does otherwise. Whenever I think he is actually a good man, the image of him killing Marie flashes in my mind. I know killing Marie wasn't his fault. In fact, it was my fault. That doesn't mean he never killed anyone without any reason. But then, after all, he is a lord. I saw him from the corner of my eye, and all I could see was the sweet gentleman standing beside me, not any murderer. Alana, I turned my head to look at him. Why don't you visit your parents? On the day you got drunk, I heard you say in your sleep that you miss them. I should probably stop sleep-talking. I've rarely talked about my parents after they died. I did not feel like talking about what happened. I had to face this. I can't always run away from the truth. Inhaling a long breath, I replied, they died 12 years ago. I am sorry. How did they die? They were, anger bubbled inside me. I felt mixed emotions. Sadness. Misery. Anger. I still loathed that vampire who killed my parents. If I ever saw the vampire again, I don't know whether I would be able to resist myself from killing him. And just like that, I burst out all my anger. They were killed by a vampire who first attacked them and then left them, I said, each word with pure hatred. Evan looked flabbergasted and shook his head. Where did you live at that time? He asked in a somber tone. What was wrong with him? He was again acting weird, like something had hit him on the head. I lived in the forests of Iris. The restricted forest. Why? He shrugged, just curious. What about your parents? I don't know where that came from. I just wanted to clear my mind of my parents. Stefan once told me that he was Evan's adopted brother, but I never learned about Evan's parents. No one talked about them. It was like some mystery that everyone avoided speaking about. They were killed by werewolves, I suppose. I never came to know who killed them, he replied, staring at the roses. I am sorry. He hummed and said something that sounded like, don't be sorry. I didn't know what else to say. So, I decided to stay quiet. I know how it feels when you can't find the person who took your loved ones away from you. And believe me, it's the worst feeling. You feel responsible for what happened to them. You feel like you could have rescued them. At the end of the day, you realize you couldn't do anything to save them. Oh well. I wanted to ask whether you can be my escort for the masquerade ball. He asked, changing the topic, which took me by surprise. It took a few minutes for me to register what he said. I nodded like a fool, indicating a yes, without even realizing. He smiled warmly at me. I felt a gush of air, and then he was nowhere. Vampire abilities, I say. I hugged myself as I felt the winter wind brushing my skin, raising goosebumps all over. I was again alone in the garden. In the blink of an eye, Evan stood in front of me again. I forgot one thing, he said before cupping my face and sealing my lips with his. He kissed me softly and gently. His hands dropped from my face. One arm tightened around my waist, pulling me impossibly closer to him, while the other entangled in my hair. I felt all the heat rush to my face and electric waves surrounding us. I was immobilized at the spot when he backed away. Good night, Alana. He gave a Cheshire cat grin and disappeared again. Unknown person's POV. My gums stung with pain, and a tremendous scream left my mouth. The ivory blonde-haired woman sat beside me and continued forcing her blood into my mouth from her wrist as I struggled against the chains that held me tight to the concrete floor. What are you doing to me, you monster? I spat at the woman. Better mind your language, she warned in her icy voice and continued the process, then got up abruptly, eyeing me up and down. You know what? You should thank me. I am making you powerful than normal beings, she said, still checking on me for any effects. Another scream escaped my lips as my eyes glowed golden, and two sharp fangs descended from my gums. I felt as though I had acquired some eternal power. With one jolt, I broke the chains and barged at the woman and bowed my head. I didn't understand this sudden change. I felt like I owed my life to this woman. Like I must serve her till my death. I felt like I was sired to her. I see. The transition is successful, the woman said with an evil smirk. I nodded. Now let's build our army, make more of your kind and take down the vampires. Her evil laugh echoed in my ears. Chapter 19. Alana, SPOV. He kissed me. I got kissed by a lord. He didn't even warn me before crashing his lips on mine. Okay, it felt amazing. What the hell am I thinking? How am I supposed to act normally after all these thoughts keep popping into my head? Moreover, I have to accompany Evan as his escort to the masquerade ball. How will I possibly stay normal around him? Don't these people have anything else to do than partying every random day? I like parties, but at this moment I am feeling terrible. I can't even pretend to be sick because I was absolutely fine until last night. Phew. I should calm down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Calm down, Alana. Calm down. I can't back out now. I will act like nothing happened yesterday and try to look normal. Yeah, that's a good idea. I heard a knock on the door. A maid entered with a wooden casket in her hands. I looked at her eagerly as she placed the casket on the table in front of me. His Highness wants you to wear this. With that, she exited the room, leaving me speechless. I opened the casket, and there lay a beautiful necklace with an oval emerald pendant carved with diamonds, accompanied by a silver chain and 2 emerald studs. The necklace was so lovely. Should I wear it? It was beautiful and matched perfectly with my dress, so why not wear it? I will return it later anyway. It's not like I have any other option. I cannot wear it because of my blatant excuses and disrespect for His Highness' orders. I scooped the necklace around my neck. Thankfully, the maid was still there as she helped me fix the hooks on the necklace. Once I was done, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. Okay, I looked fine and my hair looked great in an open hairstyle. I decided to keep it open and parted all my hair on the right side, which gave my hair a bit of a mess, but it added volume, making it look wonderful. My dress was a dark green, off the shoulder, full-length gown made of exquisite silk brocade, which had a regal effect, curtsies of my dress to Stefan, of course. At last, my mask was silver-colored with a feather at the right end. Glancing at the mirror one last time, I exited the room. As I dismounted the stairs, I saw Olivia and Stefan standing on the porch, talking about something that looked quite important. Olivia wore a purple, full-sleeve gown, also made of brocade silk, and her hair was tied in a loose, messy bun with a few tendrils left at the front. She looked stunning as always. Stefan was in his black tuxedo. It was amusing to see him all dressed up like a man. I walked over to them. They stopped talking as I approached them. "You look gorgeous," Stefan and Olivia complimented at the same time and then glared at each other. "Stefan's copying logic," I say. "So do you too," I complimented. Seconds later, Evan came wearing a black tuxedo. Well, he looked striking. I didn't dare to look him in the eyes. Yesterday's kiss replayed in my mind, and instantly I was entirely red. This wasn't the time to think about it. Act normal. Evan walked towards me, and I could feel my heart catching its breath. Why does he always have this effect on me? I gulped the lump as he approached me and raised his hand for me to hold. Of course, I was his escort, so I had to walk beside him. How did I forget that? I placed my hands on his warm ones. He led me to the carriage and sat across from me. Stefan and Olivia were in the other carriage like always, and all this while, both of them were shooting teasing glances at me and Evan. These two, I say. In the carriage, I cast my eyes down, unable to look at Evan. I couldn't just ask him why he. Screw that. The ride was becoming so deathly silent that I just felt like standing up and asking, what's with the silence? But hey, I am not brave enough to actually do that. So, when we reached the destination after what felt like an eternity, I barged out and caught up with Olivia and Stefan, who were arguing again. Hey, what's wrong with you two? Can you both, just for a change, stop fighting? I snapped, gaining their attention. Not happening, sista. Because she started first, and she should be the one to back off, stated Stefan, flaring his nostrils while pointing at Olivia and glaring at her. Olivia glared back at him. You were the one who was eating my head the whole ride, speaking ridiculous things, and you expect me to keep quiet. Olivia snapped back, crossing her arms over her chest. I just felt like banging my head somewhere. These two weren't going to stop fighting over stupid things. I thought Stefan liked Olivia, I still think, but then why do they have to fight so much? But Stefan started again, only to be cut off by none other than Evan. If you guys finished with whatever you were doing, let's get inside the hall. People are staring at you, Stefan, he said, making Stefan stop talking, looking around, glaring at all the people staring at him. Then he shrugged, rolling his eyes like nothing happened and stormed inside the hall, almost in a flimsy manner, followed by Olivia. Really? This brother of mine is delusional and dramatic? Then, when I wasn't even paying attention, Evan scooped his arm around mine, and we entered the ballroom. When we entered, I took a look around. The hall was so amazing and big. A massive crystal chandelier dominated the center of the ballroom, accompanied by smaller chandeliers on the walls, which cast a warm glow throughout the room. Men were in their tuxedos while women wore expensive designer dresses. Evan and I sat at the bar where he was talking to two men. I twirled the straw in my juice and looked around. People were gathered on the dance floor, wearing their masks, dancing with their partners. Hell, I want to dance. I turned to look at Evan, and there I saw Giselle in a very revealing black dress, clinging to Evan. Baby, are you bored? Let me keep you company, Giselle said, batting her eyelashes and winking at him. I felt anger build up inside me. I rushed to them. Do you need anything, Your Highness? I asked Oso, sweetly, and glared at Giselle. I just wanted her off him. I never felt like this, or maybe I did, but for someone special. I don't want to compare those feelings with these. I regretted those feelings when he left me. I shrugged that memory from my head and focused my attention back on Giselle, who glared at me. What the hell are you doing here, you pest? You pathetic low-rank human. She shouted in disgust. I just rolled my eyes. At least, I wasn't a blood-sucking monster. She's my escort if you don't mind. Evan growled, shoving her off him. She looked shocked but continued to give me a death glare, then stormed away. What is wrong with her? I chose to ignore her. At that moment, I just wanted to slap her hard. Wait, why am I having these criminal thoughts? I sighed and was about to go to Stefan and Olivia, but Evan took hold of my hand and lifted it. Care for a dance? Before I could respond, he tugged on my hand, leading me to the dance floor. He placed my left hand on his shoulder. His right hand went around my waist, and the left held my right one. We swayed our bodies along with the song as the rhythm became slow. I looked up into his brown-red orbs, which now had golden rings around them. His eyes were something which fascinates me a lot. Don't mind Giselle's words. Evan twirled me to get us back to the former position. Like I care, I whispered, but I am sure he heard through his enhanced hearing. I see you wore the necklace. I felt sparks all over my body when his hand came in contact with my neck as his fingers fiddled with the necklace. I nodded in a daze. He gave a charming smile and then started grinning like a maniac. What? I asked. Green is definitely your color. Just like that. I was speechless. All the blood rushed to my cheeks and I looked everywhere but him. Last night's kiss flashed in my mind. Oh God. I don't want to embarrass myself. I need fresh air. I need fresh air was all I could muster before I freed myself from his hold and ran out of the ballroom to the backyard, leaving him dumbfounded. I ran so fast that I didn't even notice the cliff ahead of me and accidentally tripped. I was about to fall off the cliff when a man grabbed my hand and pulled me into his embrace. Trying to get away so fast, beautiful? The man asked in a quizzical tone. I looked up from his chest to see icy blue eyes staring at me with his head cocked to the side. Chapter 20. I studied the gorgeous man in front of me. He was too handsome. He had icy blue eyes, a chiseled jaw, a perfect nose, and plump lips. I was so busy observing him that I didn't even realize that I was staring at him. Like what you see? His voice startled me, dragging me out of my thoughts. I moved back abruptly from his embrace. Sorry, who are you? And I wasn't trying to end my life. I just tripped off the cliff, I retorted. That's good, he said, grinning, then paused in the middle, thinking about something, before finishing his statement. Well, my name is Daniel Rodriguez. Did he say Rodriguez? I have heard the name somewhere. Uncle Aaron used to tell stories about the Rodriguez. I tried to reminisce about who it referred to. And then, like a light bulb, it lit my head. No, he couldn't be him. Are you the Dash? Yes, I am the Werewolf Prince. Please don't go for the titles, you can call me Danny. What about you, beautiful lady? He cut me off. So, he was actually a werewolf, the prince, to be precise. I shouldn't be surprised, as all the royals were invited, but the thing is, I never saw the royal family of the city I resided in. I must admit, Daniel was handsome, as people said. I looked up at him, and he was staring at me for answers. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Alana Watson. Lord Evan's assistant, I introduced, unsure of what he would say. He looked at me as if I had grown 2 heads, and then started grinning like a Cheshire cat. Wow. Evan always skips the interesting part, you know. He turned towards me as if preparing for a speech. He had been much awaiting for someone to listen. Whenever I talk to him, he's always talking about the peasants, the projects we need to work on. Blah, blah, blah. It's so boring. He never speaks about interesting things or introduces me to his people. He didn't introduce me to Olivia and now you. He whined like a kid. Wow. Looks like Stefan's got a partner. Is this with the royal princes that all are so sarcastic, or is it just their personality? I walked beside Danny in the gardens as he kept ranting. We talked about where I lived. He was surprised to learn that I lived in Ireland and had never seen the royal family. And he was also complaining about Evan being so boring and other things. It was great speaking with him, and he was hilarious as well. One moment, he would whine and complain, and then he would tell his lame jokes. He also told me that, except for the royal family, werewolves stayed in packs led by the Alpha and Luna, along with the Betas. I was enjoying his company when a girl came along with Evan beside her. Danny, I was looking for you. Carla's complaining a lot about her designer cheating on her by designing the same dress for Mrs. Whiston. The girl said, addressing Daniel, and looked at me. Hi, I am Daniel's small sister Ariel. Princess. She extended her hand for a handshake, and I took it. Alana. She gave me a friendly smile. Ariel was sweet and pretty too. She was the to-be queen of Iris. She was a blonde with pale skin and golden eyes, and God, did she have pointed ears. Was she an elf or something? Wait, elves didn't exist, right? Ariel looked back at Danny. So, what are you going to do about this? She asked Daniel, who was scratching his head. Meanwhile, I looked at Evan, who had been staring at me since he arrived. I stared him back, and it felt like we were in some staring contest until Daniel cleared his throat. If you both are done with your staring contest, can we just go inside? It's cold out here. Alana, I want to introduce my family to you. Daniel squealed like an excited child in a Christmas carol. And Evan, you didn't introduce Alana to me. He glared at Evan the way Stefan does and tugged on my hand, leading me to the hall. Ariel and Evan followed behind us. Since the former queen died, the king was forced to remarry, as Ariel hadn't acquired her powers yet back then. So, he remarried Daniel's stepmother, the daughter of a powerful alpha. Years after their marriage, the king passed away due to a sudden death. This was the tale Uncle Aaron recited to me. Back to the present. Daniel introduced me to Carla, his stepsister. Carla was also blonde and had black eyes. She wasn't as sweet as Ariel. Instead, she looked like she cared about only herself and her dress's design being stolen. I didn't care much. I introduced myself and she just shrugged it off. Daniel said it was Carla's normal behavior. Well, I think Carla was a bit high on status, unlike Daniel and Ariel, who were friendly and low to the earth. Daniel wanted me to meet his stepmother, but she wasn't seen anywhere. After a dance with Danny, a waitress accidentally dropped a juice on my dress, so I had to excuse myself and go to the washroom. Once I cleaned the mess on my dress, I headed out of the washroom. On my way to the ballroom, I heard someone speaking. I didn't plan on eavesdropping, but the voice caught my attention. Are you serious? He's at this party. What if someone finds out about our plan? What if he hurts or kills someone? Giselle was fretting all over, looking quite horrified. Mind your voice. You'll inform them before they even come to know. A woman, I guess, from the voice scolded, gripping Giselle's face tightly with one arm. I couldn't see her face due to the darkness. About him, I want him to kill someone so that it serves as a warning to the Lord, she continued, emphasizing the word want. The woman sounded cruel, and what does she mean by hurting, killing, and what kind of a warning? Most importantly, how does Giselle know that woman? Something was really fishy. I tried to sneak more into the conversation, but someone dragged me into the dark corridor, and my back hit the wall. Before I could scream, the man placed his palm on my mouth, restraining me from doing so. Don't scream. It's me, he said, taking his palm back. Lord Evan? What the hell is wrong with him? I was going to listen to Giselle and that mystery lady's master plan. I had to inform Evan about Giselle's plotting against us. So I started, my lord, Giselle is dash, only to be cut off by him as he placed his finger on my lips, moving closer. Why is it that you call me by the title and not Daniel? And I see you're quite good to him. He stepped even closer, removing his finger and placing both his hands on either side of my head. What is he implying? Damn. He's too close to me. I can't focus. I am sure my heart skipped a few beats as well. How can he possibly look so calm and intimidating while I don't know what to do? I looked anywhere but at him, which I think irked him. Look at me, Alana. He lifted my chin, which made me look straight into his smoldering gaze. Why is that whenever I am close to you, you try to ignore me or get rattled, yet you are comfortable around with other men? His voice sounds angry and hurt. I didn't know what to say. I was lost for words. He leaned his face closer to mine. Our lips were inches apart when we heard a scream from a lady. Evan abruptly stepped back, cursing under his breath. We ran towards the source of the sound, the ballroom. When we arrived at the ballroom, I saw a huge werewolf in its wolf form pinning a woman below it. I couldn't properly see the woman's face. Everyone around was screaming and gasping. Like, what is wrong with them? There were more than 100 vampires and werewolves, but they weren't moving or doing anything, and even Daniel was asking the wolf to release the queen. Wait, queen? Holy. The werewolf queen. Now I understand the reason people aren't doing anything. They didn't want the queen to get hurt. I tried to have a look at the werewolf. It was much larger than the wolf I encountered last time. It was dark brown, and on a closer note, I noticed it didn't have canines. Instead, it had fangs. How is it even possible for a werewolf to have vampire fangs? Before the wolf could fatally harm the woman, Evan gestured for me to keep quiet and ran near the werewolf with his vampiric speed and held it up high by its neck. Shift, Evan commanded. There was a sound of authority in his voice. His eyes were turning blood red. The wolf seemed to realize the stronger predator in front of him as he shifted into his human form. Thank God. The werewolf wasn't naked. Instead, he had his clothes on, not that I wanted to see him unclothed. I couldn't see the werewolf's face due to Evan blocking the sight with his huge frame. Who turned you into a hybrid? Evan's hold tightened around the wolf's neck, his voice not leaving the authority. Hybrid? Wasn't it illegal to turn someone into a hybrid? Now I understand why the man had fangs when he was a werewolf. He was a vampire/werewolf hybrid. It is illegal to turn someone into a hybrid. Witches always want to challenge the hybrids as they were an imbalance of two species and an abomination to nature's law. Instead of replying, the werewolf started laughing even though he was choking. Evan's other hand made its way to the wolf's shoulder, and I could hear the strain. The whole scene was making me feel nauseous. So, I decided to go out for some fresh air, but the following words made me halt on my way. You won't ever know who turned me, the werewolf said bitterly. I know that voice. I could never forget it. Turning around, I rushed to Evan's side to have a look at the man's face. As I approached him, I couldn't believe my own eyes. His usual green eye, which I adored, was now blazing red, looking at Evan with such hatred that if eyes could kill, he must already be dead. There was dark brown fur all over his arms, which were trying to free his neck from Evan's steel grip. The moment his eyes connected with mine, they softened, changing to their usual green. Before I could even comprehend what was happening, his name escaped my mouth. James. I whispered with utter disbelief. This was the man I loved. The man who left me. Chapter 21. Evan's POV. The hybrid was mad or perhaps had gone rabid. His eyes were a blazing fire to kill his prey. He struggled hard to get out of my hold so he could attack me, but then all of a sudden, he stopped wriggling, and his orbs turned to forest green. His whole focus was on the person beside me. I knew who it was. I felt her presence the moment she came here. James, Alana's whisper was hardly audible to any human ear, but not to me. Her face looked utterly shocked as she stared at the hybrid. His expression mirrors hers. Alana. You here? How? The hybrid finally rambled after staring at Alana for a good 5 minutes. I wanted to punch him, but refrained from doing so after looking at both of their shocked expression. Do they know each other? You two know each other? I asked the hybrid, James and Alana, trying to sound as calm as possible. They both looked at each other and then at me. He is, Alana looked down, fiddling with her fingers. Why does she look so nervous? We used to love each other, James said with an annoying smirk etched on his bloody face. Alana was still looking down. She didn't do anything to deny his statement, which itself confirmed it. Love? Alana loved James, and James loved Alana. Were they both lovers? What the? I was trying to control my anger. I can't kill the bloody hybrid if I want to get information about the main person behind the charade. The fact that Alana loved this man did nothing to ease my temper. Every time I tried exerting pressure on James' neck, Alana would flinch, tears forming in her beautiful eyes. I know she still cares for this man. The thought that she might still love him upset me. Take him to the dungeons. I ordered the guards with a high-pitched voice that they almost flinched. Nevertheless, they took the hybrid away in a matter of minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, forgive us for the scene. You can continue with the party. And just like that, the party continued like nothing happened. I bolted out of the ballroom to the carriage after telling Stefan and Olivia to get Alana along with them when they returned. As soon as I reached the mansion, I threw my overcoat on the floor, lay on the bed, and stared at the ceiling, processing the information I had received today. We both loved each other. The words kept spiraling in my mind. I clenched my fists tightly. I don't really understand why I feel so drawn to Alana. Ever since I met her for the first time in the woods, I couldn't stop thinking about her. She was so full of fury, sweetness, and fun, which amused me to no end. I even suggested that the council send her the job offer to be my assistant. Yes, I knew she needed a job because I had sent people to gather information about her. Then, every day, I felt increasingly attracted to and connected with her. At first, I thought it was just an infatuation since Alana was damn pretty for a normal girl. But that wasn't the case. I have always had the urge to protect, embrace, and love her. Even when I kissed her, I didn't regret it. I wanted to kiss her the moment I saw her in the garden, but I refrained from doing so. However, I must admit that I'm not very good at controlling myself, and ended up doing what I felt was right. I was so busy with my thoughts that I didn't even realize that it was already midnight. I stood up from the bed and went near the window. The carriage was already standing next to mine, which meant Stefan, Olivia, and Ilana had returned. By looking at the time, it looks like they returned long ago and must be sleeping. So, I did the same. Not caring about changing my dress, I lay on the bed. I shut my eyes slowly, and that was when I heard the sound of my doorknob twisting. I quickly got up and stood behind the door so that I could catch hold of the intruder. Instead, when the door opened and I held the person in a firm embrace, I had to cover her mouth with my palm, stopping her from screaming. "Ilana, what are you doing? Intruding inside my room?" I asked softly, removing my palm from her mouth, before she surprised me by hugging me tightly and starting to cry. Whoa, what happened? Are you okay? I was concerned now. Why was she crying? Who the hell made her cry? Hee. James is haunting me. I was searching for Olivia's room, but instead ended up here, she replied, looking everywhere. The fact that instead of missing that lunatic hybrid or reminiscing about her moments with him, she was scared of him made me want to smirk at my victory. However, I didn't do that. Instead, I moved a little back and held her face, wiping her tears. It's okay. He is not here. Relax. I moved my hands up and down her back in an attempt to calm her. Instead, she hugged me again, if possible, more tightly. He is here. He will harm me, she became hysterical. Sleep here, okay? He won't harm you until I am here. So don't worry, my love. And no arguments. I stated the last sentence firmly. She looked hesitant, but then agreed. I suppose she is too scared. Otherwise, Ilana would never have agreed to sleep with me. Not that I am going to do anything to her still. You know Ilana, right? She's always trying to stay away from me. Ilana looked around, probably searching for a couch. So bad. There wasn't any. I never kept a sofa in my room. Why would I need a couch when I have a king-size bed? You'll have to sleep on the bed. There's no couch. Please don't argue. She looked at me like I had gone mad, then stomped towards the bed, lying on the right side. I occupied the other side and lay beside her. She made a slight whimpering noise when I shut the light. Was she scared of the darkness? Don't know, maybe. I pulled her closer, putting my arm around her small waist. Her breathing quickened at the action. It's okay. Don't worry. I am here. I cooed her, placing my chin on her head. She seemed to calm down as her breathing became normal and eventually fell asleep. I held her close to me in the same position as I fell into a deep slumber, listening to her rhythmic heartbeat. Ilana's POV. I woke up due to the torturing sunlight hitting my face. I sat up abruptly, my eyes widening, taking in my surroundings. I was alone in a marvelous Gothic-themed room. I wasn't in my room. Oops. Am I in Evan's room? Yeah. I walked in here last night when James' hybrid form was haunting me. Who knew the man I loved would haunt me someday? Give me nightmares. And what will Evan think about me? I was such a stupid girl to come to his room yesterday and, let alone, sleep in his bed with him beside me. What do I do? First, I have to get out of this room. I got off the bed hurriedly to rush to my room. I wish that there were no one in the corridor, or else I would be the rumor of the mansion. I exited Evan's room, sneaking out like a thief. To my relief, there wasn't anyone outside. Once I was in my room, I ran into the shower to clear my mind. What the hell did I do? Now I will have to face the embarrassment. Evan would be normal like always, and my insane self would go haywire. I should have searched for Olivia's room instead of sleeping in his room. Well, now I can't do anything about it, can I? So, I should act normally. I headed to Evan's study as soon as I was ready. I will do my work and avoid any eye contact. Yep, that's a good idea. When I was standing outside the study, twisting the doorknob, a few servants came holding a tray with tea and food. Did Evan have guests visiting him? I twisted the door slowly and entered. To my surprise, everyone, Evan, Stefan, Olivia, and even Daniel, Ariel, Carla, along with a lady, whose face I couldn't see as her back was facing me, were present there. It looked like all the royals were present. They were all seated on the huge Victorian armchairs and were busy discussing something. I wonder what? Well, I am not a nosy person. We have to find the main mastermind before he creates more ruckus, Evan said, sipping on his coffee leisurely from the cup. Yes, we can't risk the hybrids attacking towns now, Daniel agreed. Both of them were looking at the woman. I guess she is the queen of werewolves. I still couldn't see her face except for her ivory blonde hair. We will look into this matter, Evan. I will try to find out information about the hybrid and inform you as soon as I find it. And about the town, we will send our men to guard the towns so that no one is harmed. The queen stood up. Now, if I may leave. Evan nodded in agreement. I don't know why her sound felt so familiar. I will come with you, Mom. Carla stood up, ready to follow her mother. The queen looked at Daniel and Ariel, who were still seated. Oh, we'll be staying here for the day, my queen, Daniel replied, referring to him and Ariel. They were going to stay? The queen turned around and headed to the door with Carla in tow. Now I could see her face clearly. The queen had light brown eyes with pale skin. Her lips were painted red and were tattered a bit on the upper lip. There was something strange, and I don't really understand why I feel something eerie about her. As soon as she left with Carla, Daniel straightened himself. With the queen gone, let's start the actual meeting, he smirked, looking at Evan while Evan did the same.